graduated, motivated DJs and MCs. So check this out, don't shout, cause I'm carrying clout. And big money's what I make when I run my mouth. You see the rhymes I got are the rhymes you don't. And the rhymes I say are the rhymes you won't. So I got the camera, smile and say cheese. And me and Joe Cooley are DJs and MCs. Radio, 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 radio. You DJs and MCs know what you can. I program this jam and you can't. Shows a when he's on the fader, serving suckers well like a restaurant waiter. So don't even try it. I know you wanna. Me and Joe are too deaf to ever be quiet. Yeah. He'll eat you up. You better run. And those who thought you were better, don't you feel? Come on, Joe, let's rock this night. Kick the bass. Starts to play, the crowd will sway, moving back and forth this here and that way, and people rush the stage with no delay. On the 1200, Joe wears a crown, and behind the turntables where he can be found. Not only does he mix, transform, and scratch, but if he feels real good, he'll grab the mic and rap. I'm Joe Cooley, now standing in front, and all Gumby DJs get kicked in the rump. And when I'm on the tables, you will be in a trance, so snap out of it, cause I dance. We got Come on. Can you feel it?
What up, y'all? Unit, what up? DJ Boo, Remix Net.
Check it out.
My man Sweet Tooth. My man Dre One.
Triple threats in the house. Word up. Yeah.
Y'all gotta run this back. This is Triple Threat and the X-ecutioners.
Come on.
Shout out to all the DJs in the room. This is Table Talk.
Yeah.
Oh, word.
Check it out.
Rhettmatic.
Triple threat.
Shortkut
That's what I'm talking about. Speak of my brother Rhettmatic in the house.
Barely just made it, dude. I just got back.
Oh man, thank you for joining me, man. Before this all happened, me and Rhett were talking most of the day just about what are we gonna ask Rob, man? Rob's like from the X-Men, X-ecutioners, and just everything that we've been, of course they're such a big influence on us as far as being West Coast beat jugglers, but yeah, so many questions come to mind, right? So man, you guys are in for some, everybody in the room, if you guys are down to nerd out with us, this is exactly what's gonna go down. I'm just getting it warmed up for today, until Rob gets in the room, but yeah, man.
Word, you're playing the joint off the Triple Threat album?
Oh yeah, man. Well, since you said that, we gotta run it back.
Oh word.
This is Triple Threat. Myself, Vin Rock, and DJ Apollo, alongside Rob Swift and rest in peace, Rock Raider.
Check it out. Triple Threats in the house. Word up. Yeah.
Big up the whole room.
Yeah.
Hang out with us, y'all.
Others had their turn to flex. Hey yo, Triple Threat is up next. Everybody claim they're the best. Cease the bull. See who shit birth the best.
Yeah, so keep the stilo and the flow.
For all you didn't know, this how we go. Royal eyes on us. Hey yo, my man, Rob Swift. Collaborate. Represent to the fullest.
Niggas can't front. Skills remain timeless.
Word up.
One hand holds the table, cutting it up, cutting it up, and completely destroying it.
Yeah, you know how we coming. Cut with precision. With mad rhythm.
We gon' let the world know
I was properly done. Trust me, son. You know we get the job done.
Say what?
Shit from Cali. So step up top. We rocking it. It's real hip hop.
With the system bumping loud. Yo, it's got to react. Hey yo,
Rock Raider.
represent where you at. Hey yo, yeah.
You know how it goes.
I'm coming through, Duke is about to get set.
Who want it? Triple Threat.
Tear shit up,
What up, y'all? Chat room, what's good? Taquan, T-Bird, DJ Boo, No Beyond. And what's up, Brett?
What's up, Short?
All right.
Turn on my mic and stuff.
Yeah, let me sit down real quick.
I was just trying to get my WAP on, listening to Marley Scratch.
Yo, for one of my last Gold Chain Rap streams, I did a whole Marley Marl set. Woo. And you'll be man, I was just so surprised of how much shit he did.
Come on, man. Look, Marley is the father of sampling.
Absolutely.
For real.
And man, just playing all the joints from like even just the early, the bridge records from like early Nia record stuff, man. So many joints, man.
I mean, it's crazy. Everybody got their favorite producers. I mean, everybody got, they'll say like Primo, Pete Rock, Dilla, Madlib, Large Pro. But a lot of people don't know about, they don't talk enough about it. They don't talk about Marley Marl.
Yeah, I agree.
Between him, 45 King.
Even Mantronics too, man.
I was going to say, between him, 45 King, Mantronics, and the Bomb Squad.
Oh man. Especially the Bomb Squad. Yo, I mean, we could even credit Bomb Squad to being like early turntable music. You know what I mean?
No, for real. For real.
Man, thank you guys for coming through, y'all. Uncle Scratchta, Madden Governor, NJ2, Oh Scratch That, Menace, my brother Unit holding us down. Man, today's a special edition of Table Talk. My brother Rhettmatic is gonna help me conduct the interview and go over Godfather's crew. You know what it is. Beat Junkie Sound in the house. Man, what can we say about the X-Men, man? The X-ecutioners, you know what I'm saying? Like, super influential, needless to say. I mean, as far as like, you know, like the early beat, being a beat juggler from Northern California, to be able to come down to LA from like some of my first battles and to run into like Rhettmatic, my brother Rhettmatic, and who else? I mean, man, like just cats who were actually beat juggling. I thought, oh man, there's other beat jugglers in the West Coast. You know what I'm saying? So.
Yeah, I mean,
but
you know, like this is the craziest thing about how I kind of like learn about the X-Men. Really, it's like, I mean, I'm sure like a lot of us from our generations, like through tapes. I gotta credit my man G Wiz. Shout out to G Wiz.
Oh, big up G Wiz, man.
Yeah, Project Guild Brothers, early Rocksteady DJs, LA chapter. So, you know, he was also good friend. You know, he was good friends with Q. You know, Qbert and shit like that.
That's right. That's right.
So I would hang out with him at his apartment. With him, Rocca from Dilated Peoples, Chat from L Brothers, and he would call like, "Yo, man, you know, of course we talk, you know, we know about Q and stuff like that. You know, I mean, especially if you're Filipino, you know about Q and stuff, right?
Yeah.
But like, he says, you heard about the X-Men? It's like X-Men. Play me the videos from the DMCs, you know, '91. I'm like, oh shit, like,
man.
That's when I saw like Raider and Rob Swift and stuff. But then, which of course, I mean, I didn't know at the time. I knew about Steve D, but didn't know Steve D was the leader of the X-Men and shit like that.
Yeah.
You know, we know he was already in like the 90 DMC.
Seminar, 90 DMC. Yeah, exactly.
Yeah,
all the origins, man. Like, yeah, it wasn't until man, what was it? I think it was Q just won. For me, Q had just won the DMC USA, and then he went to New York to judge the '91 seminar, the Superman battle.
Right.
And he told me that
was before that was actually the transition, right? Like from.
Right. I think the transition from New Music Seminar holding it.
Right.
And then I just remember Q had mentioned like, yo, the East Coast cats are on some other shit. I'm like, word? What'd you see? I think, yo, there's these cats out there that, I mean, they're just like on some, like, they're beat manipulating on some other level. Word. And he had specifically mentioned Rob and Raider. So, yo, Rhett, oh, sorry. Rhett, people in the room are saying if you could turn up your mic just a little bit.
All right, how's that?
Yeah, before we go further, y'all, can you let us know how we sound? Do I sound cool? Does Rhett sound cool?
You sound good, sure.
Yup. Let us know.
Chip.
Yeah, okay. Cool. All right. Well, man, like I said, without further ado, man, this is a special edition of Table Talk, and Rhett, thank you for joining me. We were having a geek fest. Man, we talked for like a good hour, just geeking out on everything. Like
my mom was waiting me. Red, we have to go.
Well, thank you for coming, getting back in time, man. I really appreciate it. I mean, like I said, just geeking out. Like, I mean, that's one of the reasons why me and my brother Rhettmatic connected, is just just on some DJing ish. I mean, we would, whenever I go to LA, we'd watch videos of DMCs and seminars, and you can't, and we both had the love for beat juggling, and like I said, it's impossible to not mention the X-ecutioners in the same breath of that. You know what I'm saying? So, man, but without further ado, we got the man of the hour. What up, Rob? Oh.
Okay.
Y'all.
The Brolic Arm himself, man. Yo.
Dude.
How you feeling, bro?
Hey, stop showing off your guns, Rob.
I know, right?
Hey, I work hard Monday through Friday.
I know. I'm
gonna show them off whenever I get the chance.
Yeah, man, super gym rat, this guy, right? You're in there all the time, brother, right?
All the time, man.
All the time.
It's funny because when I met you guys, it's not like I was into physical fitness,
Nope.
bodybuilding,
Nope.
and in my early 30s, I just got sucked into it, man, and I devote the same amount of time to working out that I do to DJing. It's pretty much 50-50.
No, I feel you, Rob. I mean, I
That's
don't know if you
dope.
know.
Very inspirational, man.
I don't know if you know. This is kind of like the same thing I do now. Like I train jiu-jitsu, so it's kind of like the same. I put in the same work, so I feel you.
Yeah, man, the body has to move, and as we get older, there's no real need, especially with technology, to like be fit. We could order our food via Uber Eats, and so we're not necessarily moving as much as we used to. So working out, whether it's jujitsu, lifting weights, running, is a good way to supplement that.
Yeah, for sure, for sure.
Word up,
Yes.
y'all.
Man, been a hot
Man.
minute, Rob.
It has, right?
Man,
Yeah.
yeah. So
Yo, so man, Rob, thank you for doing this with us, man. Like I know me and you've been talking about this for a minute. I know you've been busy, but like I said,
Yo, one
we've been
thing
doing.
short, real
Yeah,
quick. I know earlier we did that little sound check,
yeah.
and we got rid of hearing myself
Oh, you hear echo.
from your mic, but I'm hearing myself now. Yeah, I don't know if it
Okay.
really means anything, but
you might want
Yes, actually,
you might want to wear headphones. And
yeah.
then,
I'm aware of headphones. Do you have
wearing,
headphones?
yeah, I'm wearing my
oh,
AirPods.
okay.
How about? Can you hear? Hello? Can you hear me?
Yo,
How about now? Better?
that's much better.
Okay, there you go. Cool. My bad.
The
I forgot we're
music,
doing
the
this.
music is gone. The music's gone, but I can hear you perfect.
I forgot that we're doing this radio style. Okay, cool.
Now I hear the music.
Yeah. Okay. Cool. Man, Rob, we've been talking about doing this for a minute. We've been doing this show for a minute. We had Craze on, we had Kubert on before, and but yo, like just we wanted to talk to you, especially about just the influence you've had, just on just the whole turntablist scene, turntablism itself, and at least for us, definitely with the beat junkies. You know what I'm saying? Like myself, Rhett, Babs,
Mellow.
Mellow. You know what I'm saying? And we just wanted to, for the younger viewers in the room who may not know about the history of the X-Men, we want to just let them know, because pretty much give you your flowers, brother. Because I mean, like I said, my style, coming from the West Coast, we're known a lot more for scratching, definitely on the fast tip kind of thing, and but just watching you, Steve, and Raider during my first early days of battling, man, it just pretty much changed my whole outlook of what I wanted to do as a battle DJ. You know what I'm saying? So
Same here. Same
yeah,
here.
and that's
I
how I
mean-
was able to vibe out with the fellas down south, because like especially with Rhett, me and Rhett were always ciphering and making up juggles in his garage. So
Yeah, I mean, I'll say this, Rob, straight up. Your 1992 DMC, USA. I didn't see the East Coast, but I saw the USA, and you wearing the red hot chili pepper shirt.
Yeah.
And, like, I mean, just everything from just front to back. It was one of the most solidest routines. Like, you just everything, transitions, showmanship, the technicality, especially you kind of have to think about it. I mean, during those days, it was like most like everybody was doing just body tricks, but speed. It's just speed. I mean, at the closest at now, if you really kind of think about it, like we even Short and I have talked about it. Like Aladdin's kind of like almost kind of like precursor, but when like you, Steve, and Raider just brought that particular style of of DJing, but yours, especially yours, it was like what I loved about you. It was very clean, and it's very musical. You can follow along with it. But then when you, like, of course, when you do the Bismarck routine, where the part where you just stop, pick up the turn around, drink on the Evian bottle of water, and point to the shit. I mean, that shit was like, like that was so clean, like
yeah, but, and
I mean, ironically, you're drinking your water right now as you
Exactly.
do that, and shit, so, but I mean, yeah, I mean, it just from front to end, it was just everything was so flavor and so technique. It just, man, yeah, that was like the epitome of like showmanship and technique put together.
Yeah, man. I mean, especially I just want to add on to that, especially being from the West Coast, seeing that for the first time, the biz routine definitely changed a lot of ways that we went about making routines up here in the West Coast. I mean, if you really think about it, just from like from people who might have not seen the seminar in '91 with what Raider was doing, but with just the whole manipulating real time and doing a breakdown of the juggles and just the whole biz routine, man. I mean, it's super influential, and for those of you who haven't seen it, man, you guys definitely got to check it out and YouTube that after this, or if you guys even want to watch it, we could probably do that as well. But yeah, man, Rob, enough us talking about you. We just wanted to say what's up and definitely thank you first and foremost for your contributions to everything that you've done. As far as the influence on us, I'm saying, here in the West. I see a bunch of DJs in the room right now who actually have joined battles and who do be juggle. Kidwick, I see you. Snake Eyes, man, yeah, man. Maybe I guess we should start this off from like just your origins and how you started off, and who were your earliest influences? I've always been meaning to ask you this. I know, you're around, like the crew, but what was your first videos that you've seen that was really like for us, we're just from the VHS era, right? So we just went home after school every day, watch it over and over again. What were those videos for you? Who were those DJs that you went to first and
Before
foremost?
I talk about the videos, the VHS tapes that influenced me,
Yeah,
I have to acknowledge DJs like Red Alert, Chuck Chillout, Marley Marl, Johnny Juice, who all had radio shows. And in the 80s, there were no smartphones, as you guys can testify. There
that's
was
true.
no social media, there was no internet. Music was something that we would absorb via the radio or in the privacy of our own homes by playing a record and just sitting down on your parents' couch and listening to a record that might have had some really cool scratches. So if it wasn't me playing a song that featured amazing scratches like Rocket, a la Herbie Hancock and Grand Mixer DST, I was listening to the radio. And those four DJs primarily, Johnny Juice, Marley Marl, Chuck Chillout, Red Alert, played a huge role in inspiring me to become a DJ, understanding record selection, understanding how to isolate parts in songs to manipulate. All of that I learned from the radio. And I also got to give a big shout to my older brother, John, Universal. My brother's the one that taught me about hip hop, whether it was breaking, rhyming, graffiti, DJing. He's the person responsible for instilling in me the passion for hip hop in general. And it's important for people to understand that are watching us and listening that if you're a scratcher with a K, or you consider yourself a master beat juggler, know that these techniques originate from hip hop, just pure hip hop. And being young, coming up in the first decade of the birth of hip hop, obviously influenced me to bring that with me into the 2000s and the 2010s and the 2020s that we're in now. I never want to allow myself to separate what I do from the origin of it, which is hip hop, and expressing yourself and being creative. So those are the initial influences. As far as the VHS tapes, those were game changers because, for example, the first DMC battle that I ever experienced was sonically. I was at home. It was like probably 11:30 p.m. on a Saturday night, and Johnny Juice, who did a lot of the scratches for the first two Public Enemy albums, Yo Bum Rush the show, and It Takes a Nation of Millions to hold us back. A lot of people think it was Terminator X that did those scratches, but it
No,
was
it wasn't.
actually Johnny Juice. Yeah.
Mm-hmm.
And so Johnny Juice had a college radio show, and what he would do is he would take VHS tapes, dub the audio from the tapes, VHS tapes featuring the battles, the DMC competitions that we've been talking about. And he would dub it onto audio and then play excerpts of these battles on the radio.
Oh
So
damn.
my first experience with the DMC was listening to Johnny Juice's college radio show and hearing DJs like Cash Money and Cutmaster Swift and DJ Aladdin and DJ Miz, etc., cutting it up. So whereas today people pick up their phones and they stumble across a video of a guy going nuts, and then they study the video, learn what they like about what this person did, and then record themselves or post videos of themselves doing similar, whether it's beat juggle patterns or scratches. I was being exposed to it sonically, so I didn't know what they were doing mechanically. Like, it's not like you could decipher what's going on when you just hear it. I mean, for all you know, it could be a guy hitting a sampler, you know?
Right.
So I would listen to these audio excerpts of these battles and just think, my God, like what these guys are doing, dudes like Cash Money, Aladdin, Miz, Cutmaster Swift, is just beyond anything that I'm accustomed to hearing from Chuck Chillout, Red Alert, Marley Marl. I gotta learn how to do this, but I couldn't figure it out. At the time, the best I could do was backspin, and that's because I saw Grand Mixer DST in the finale of the movie Wild Style backspin Good Times. Good times, good times, good. So I remember seeing that in 1983 and teaching myself how to backspin because I was able to see it on this movie, you know? But it's not like Juice had a smartphone and I had a laptop and I was watching him stream his show the way we watch people like Jazzy Jeff and yourself, Shortkut and Rhettmatic stream DJ sets. Back then, you were just listening to it via the radio.
Oh, yeah.
So I couldn't really make out what was happening. I just knew this is a human being doing this. And it's beyond anything I'm accustomed to listening to from the radio DJs that I like Marley Marl, Red Alert, Chuck Chillout. And it wasn't until maybe a year later, I came home from school, turned on a show called Video Music Box, hosted by a guy named Ralph McDaniels. And Uncle Ralph, big shout to him. Video Music Box was an hour-long show that just played music videos. And they would play everything, pop videos, new wave, R&B, and obviously hip-hop videos. That is what they would predominantly play, was hip-hop videos. And it was 1989, March. I came home from school, 3:30 p.m., turned on Video Music Box, and I'm sitting there watching videos, doing my homework, and then I see a guy named E. Kim, who actually is a good friend of my mentor, Dr. Butcher, cutting it up. This dude cutting it up on a stage in front of what seemed like 600-700 people. And he had all these people in back of him, and they were judges. Red Alert, Chuck Chillout was there, Clark Kent, DJ Premier, Pete Nice from Third Base, MC Search was hosting, talking, and I'm like, yo, what is this? Like, it was just like I was discovering this subculture via the TV that I didn't know really existed. I didn't know it was a DMC battle until a couple of videos after that, Ralph McDaniels cut to an excerpt of him interviewing Mr. C and Clark Kent. And people can actually go to my YouTube page and watch this
actual video
footage. Yeah, the actual video. I uploaded it and I put a nice little caption to break down exactly the meaning behind the video and how seeing that from my house on TV, it was a public access channel, Channel 31 here in New York City. Seeing that is what inspired me to then want to get into battles. And on top of that, that's when I first saw Steve D. I didn't know who Steve D was until Ralph McDaniels aired an excerpt of him cutting up Friends by Houdini. And he did his classic Friends pattern. And I was just like, just now talking about it, I'm getting tingles, man, because I was just wait, this guy's doing beats. Like he's making beats on this Houdini record that like I hear Red Alert and Chuck Chilla play every weekend, but he's rearranging it. And I'm seeing how he's doing it now, opposed to hearing it on Johnny Juice's college radio show. Now I'm seeing it. And that was the beginning of me discovering like the VHS tapes and that there's this subculture called the DMC, the New Music Seminar, where kids would assemble at a venue and battle each other for a belt or a trophy. And I just fell in love with that culture.
Damn, and this is 89, huh?
This is 89 when I first saw a DMC with my own eyes. And it was via this show that played music videos, video music box.
Rob, real quick, a little hip hop nerd question here. So you said Ecamm. Is that DJ Ecamm in terms of who was DJing for Percy P? Is that the same?
The same Ecamm.
Yeah.
It's the same Ecamm.
Wow.
Yep.
Damn.
Yep.
Okay. All right.
That's dope.
I'd ask that.
Crazy. So just because I'm trying to do the math. So you said you watched Steve in '89, and the first time I heard of you or seen you on anything was the '91 seminar or the '91 Superman battle. Mm-hmm. And you're telling me it was you were just a year and a half or maybe a couple years into just DJing until you joined that battle?
Well, I started DJing in 1982.
Okay.
Right,
I remember your roots go back because your dad and
right, exactly. So, watching my dad, who was a DJ, play music for people. Then again, I had a brother that was into hip hop and he was teaching me about the culture of hip hop, not just DJing and scratching or beat juggling, but the culture that DJing came from or birthed, I should say. The culture that DJing birthed, which was the breaking, the rapping. And so I was already DJing and I had a foundation in the basic techniques because thankfully my brother taught me how to scratch, how to mix, how to drop on time, whether it was a quarter note, the one, or the one and an eighth note, 16th note drops with songs like Take Me to the Mardi Gras. And so I already had a foundation. So although I didn't really understand what guys like Cash Money were doing with songs like Get Down by LL Cool J, calling me a sucker, sucker boy, sucker, sucker boy. Yeah. Although I didn't really understand what he was doing when I would hear Johnny Juice play these excerpts. Because again, I wasn't seeing it, I was hearing it. Once I saw Steve D and Ecamm and Plastic Man, who was a Superman, once I saw excerpts of them in the 1989 DMC, the East Coast DMC, then I was like, oh, okay, I understand now, like that it's this hand choreography that's happening a certain way to produce the sounds that you're hearing on a song like Rock the Bells, that there's an order of movements and you have to execute them in a very precise way to get the sound to come out the way it does. It's not just these guys going nuts. There's like, it's hand choreography. That's when I started to understand, wow, like this isn't just a guy backspinning. Good times, good times. As you were talking earlier about guys were just focusing on speed. Good, 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 good. Or body tricks. No, this is like it's
There's
like
not.
a guy playing drums, but on turntables. And in
Right.
order to get the patterns, the drum patterns, there's a choreographed way to move your hands. And that's when like I understood, all right, what I'm hearing, now I'm seeing it, and I need to figure this out. And so in 1989, that's when I really started to get serious with the practicing, with the training. And in 1990, thank God, a good friend of mine, Juju from the Beatnuts, who lived in the next town over from me. I lived in Jackson. I still do actually lived in Jackson Heights. He lived in Corona, Queens, where Cool G Rap is from, and Dr. Butcher's from. And Juju was like, dude, I got to take you to this guy, Dr. Butcher's house. And he took me to Dr. Butcher's house. And Drew was on the level of Steve D, of Aladdin, of all those guys that were battling. It's just that Drew, Dr. Butcher, wasn't necessarily out there competing. He was just touring with Cool G Rap. But he could do all the stuff that these guys were doing. So when I went to his house, I was just like, dude, I want to battle, man. Like, I want to get in next year's DMC. And he was like, all right, I'll train you. And that's when like I really started to level up because now I had a mentor that was on the level of Steve D and Plastic Man and DJ Scratch and Richie Rich and Cutmaster Swift and Cash Money and Jazzy Jeff and all these pioneer DJs, but he didn't sound like them. He had his own distinct style. And for those that aren't familiar with Dr. Butcher, go on my YouTube. All you got to do is do a search for his name on my YouTube page, and you'll see videos of him in his house with me by himself. Early videos, I'm talking 1991, doing routines like
Yo.
Catch the Beat, AJ Scratch, which he gave to Mr. Sinister. And now Sinister's known for these routines, but it was actually Dr. Butcher that created the routines. He was nasty, man. And that's when I started to really level up. And then by 1991, I entered my first competition, which was the East Coast DMC.
I got a two-part question for about Dr. Butcher. One, so being that you just said it, and I've heard in this room, in some interviews and stuff like that, would you consider Butcher like even though he wasn't a battler, would you consider like say like what they was like a soul surfer? Like this guy was like he can do the techniques, but he just did it just to do it. Would you consider that like someone that's like there's competitors and there are those who are just practitioners who just they got the techniques, but they just did it. They
Not
just
into battling.
not into battling, but they just did it for themselves per se. Would you say that? Would you say Butcher?
The way I would answer that question is by saying this. I think Dr. Butcher had every intention to battle, to be honest with you. When I met him, what was happening was he was battling people in intimate settings. It's not like he was entering sanctioned DJ battles. What was happening was he would battle dudes like backstage, not backstage, but like during sound check, I should say, at shows that he was on tour with, Cool G Rap. He battled this guy named DJ Vanguard, like at a barbershop in Queens. Vanguard was in the movie Juice.
Okay.
Yeah. He was one of the DJs battling in the movie Juice.
I was in a seminar with him.
Yeah, right. You were in the seminar with him. Exactly. So he battled Vanguard. So I think Drew was prepping himself to start getting into competitions. But then he met me and his goals shifted. And yeah, it is interesting. And it's very selfless of him because I think he had every intent to enter the same battles that I entered. But when I met him in 1991 and asked him to train me, it's almost like he abandoned the goals that he had. Right. And his priority became, I gotta train this kid to help him achieve his goals. So
So
it's like he put his goals aside
right.
for the sake of helping me achieve mine.
Okay,
Right,
before I go,
and oh,
I'm
go ahead,
sorry.
Brett.
Before I go to my second part of the question, so would you say when he was battling, like like you said, in more intimate things, where was it more? Because like back in the days, if you battled, before there was DMCs and seminars and stuff, cats were battled for cash and equipment and stuff, or names and stuff. Was he kind of like on that stuff? Like if he battled, if like for instance, you said he battled Vanguard. Did he battle for like okay, if I win, I take your equipment, or or we're doing it for cash, or is just like okay, was there like like I can take you out. Let's go battle. Was it like that type of battling that he was into? Per
It
se?
was more authentic, organic hip hop. You know, I mean, look, I'm old enough to remember going to USA roller skating rink on 69th Street here in Jackson Heights, where they filmed the classic Rocksteady crew against the Dynamic Breakers battle in the documentary Star Wars.
Right.
That roller skating rink is blocks, or was blocks, from where I lived. Now it's like a fish market, but it was in my neighborhood where they shot that scene for Star Wars. And I referenced that to say, in hip hop, you want to prove yourself. That's kind of like a big thing in our culture, is proving yourself, proving that you're good. And the most direct way to do that is to challenge someone and beat them. And you're not necessarily worried about getting something tangible or materialistic. What you're more focused on getting is respect,
Yeah.
from the
Right.
people that are there watching you. So it could be three people that
But
are watching you break, and what you want is for those three people to know you were better than your opponent.
Right, but
And
that was
then-
and that's like the pretty much almost the social media is the word of mouth. It's like the people that were there. It says like, "Yo, I saw them battle," and
Right.
yo, like that. So like, yeah. But I mean, it goes back to again saying it's like most of the time it's really about respect. But you know how sometimes people are battle like like if you had the same name, you had to battle who for the name, and whoever won is like you
Yeah,
can't.
nah, it wasn't that. It wasn't that with Dr. Butcher.
Right.
It was, I'm prepping myself to eventually enter these sanctioned battles.
Right.
And a good way to do that is to like see how I make out just on the street, in barbershops and during sound check with the DJ for the other rapper, whether it was Das Effects or whoever the case is. Like Redman, at the time was DJing for Das Effects. And I remember a lot of people don't know that Redman started out as a DJ.
As a DJ, yeah, that's right.
Yes, right. And I have so many stories of Drew. One in particular where like he's at the Apollo, Scratch was there, Redman was there, and they're sound checking. And then Drew gets up there and starts killing it in front of them. Because Drew was like, Dr. Butcher was this like shadowy figure. Like it's not like he was necessarily the kind of person that was like out there mingling and schmoozing and getting his name out there. He was more quiet and incognito. So, but at the same time, when he would get around other DJs, he would want to see, all right, like, let me see like where I rank, with these guys, you know what I mean? And so like during sound check at the Apollo with Redman and Scratch, like they're cutting it up. And then he got on and just was battling them. But like, I don't think they realized he was battling them.
Subliminally.
You know what I mean? Right,
battling them.
exactly. You know what I mean?
Yeah.
So that's the kind of stuff that Dr. Butcher was doing. And then he met me and decided I need to help this guy achieve his goals. And
That's dope.
and he did, man. He did. The first battle I entered a year later, I met Dr. Butcher in July of 1990. By March of 1991, I entered the DMC, placed third. And then the next year, I entered again and won. And so within 2.5, 3 years of meeting Dr. Butcher, I accomplished my goal. And I owe that guy a lot, man. And every time I reference him or talk about him,
You know,
I always
man.
make sure that like I give him that and explain to people his relevance in my career, because if it wasn't for him, I don't think I'd be sitting here talking to you guys right now.
No, Rob. I remember when me and you first met during the seminar in '93, or when you started talking to each other on the phone. I remember one of the first conversations we had. You would always mention Dr. Butcher's name because we were always talking about like how it was for scratching here in the West Coast and like especially here in the Bay. And you've always saying, oh man, you have to listen to our brother Dr. Butcher. He is the one who could cut like crazy. And you know what I mean? That's why I find so as we talk about Butcher, I just find it fascinating how how you guys give each other routines within the crew, and can you name the routines that because I know for the SWAT was for Joey for Sinister. What was a routine that Butcher was that I don't know I want to say maybe gave to you to freak
Okay,
even more.
so just to clarify, theme from SWAT, which is Joey's or one of Joey's, Mr. Sinister's classic, most memorable routines. That was something that Sinister created
Oh,
off the
okay.
off the inspiration of watching me create my Nobody Beats the Biz routine.
Ah, okay.
Right. So theme from SWAT, and I know last week, Short, you and I were
Oh,
talking about. I don't know if we're gonna do that in this.
you know, yeah. You know what? My bad. You mentioned AJ Scratch. I'm sorry.
Right,
I
AJ
think
Scratch.
I
Right,
must
right.
have named the wrong song. My bad.
Yeah,
So
yeah,
yeah.
yeah.
But
So
AJ Scratch. Would you say the AJ
AJ
routine
Scratch,
was?
AJ Scratch was a routine because here's the thing. After I won, Dr. Butcher was gonna battle. He was gonna battle.
Word?
Yes. And he started creating routines to use in the competitions that he was going to battle. One of the routines was AJ Scratch by Curtis Blow. Another routine was Catch the Beat by a rapper named T-Ski
T-Ski.
Valley.
Oh, damn.
Those two routines were the equivalent of my Nobody Beats the Biz, for example. Like Butcher was like, all right, I helped I helped Rob accomplish his goal. He won his DMC. Now it's time for me to get mine. So he started putting together routines, started formulating ideas for the 93, or not necessarily the 93, but whatever battle he was going to decide to get into, whether it was the DMC or the Clark Kent Superman battle. And then Sinister was like, yo, I want to battle. Rob, at the time, Sinister and myself were training under Dr. Butcher, and I was ahead of Sinister, to be honest with you. A lot of people don't know this, but Sinister started out as a house DJ. He wasn't a hip hop DJ or quote unquote turntablist. He was a house DJ.
Wow.
So when he was on some like totally. So when I and Sin started training with Dr. Butcher, being that I was already really into like the beat juggling and the scratching and the body tricks more than Sinister, I was ahead of him in my progress. And so then, I would have Sinister come to my house. There came a point where, Dr. Butcher was like, man, I taught you all you need to know. Like, it's on you now, Rob. And it's the same, analogy of like the bird flying away from the nest
Nah,
sort of thing.
yeah,
Like,
no doubt.
I went on my own and started training on my own because I accumulated all the knowledge that I needed from Dr. Butcher. So Sinister would come to my house and train. And then the reason I say that to answer your question is because if anyone out there is interested, you could Google 1992 East Coast DMC and you'll see me. I actually uploaded the entire battle, but during my 6-minute round or showcase, you see a guy next to me handing me records, and it was Mr.
Yup.
Sinister. So
That's right.
Sinister would
With
come
the
to
high
my
top
house,
fade.
with the hop, with
Yep.
the flat top. And so Sinister would come to my house and like time me and give me advice and feedback on what I was doing. And when I won that year, Sinister told Drew and I, all right, now I want to battle. Now, after I won, I retired from battling. I knew that I just wanted to devote at least 2 years, or not at least, maximum. I told myself I wanted to devote maximum 2 years to battling. So from 1991 to 1992, I entered every battle, and I would battle dudes like the same way Dr. Butcher would battle dudes, like in intimate spots, like neighborhood battles. And then I accomplished my goal, won, and then Sinister was like, I want to battle. So what happened was Dr. Butcher again abandoned his goal to eventually compete and gave Sin the routines that he was working on. And it was
Amazing, man.
primarily two routines: catch the beat, the I got another funky break for you, and then
Yeah.
he does the juggles, and then he goes back to the I got another funky break, like all that was Dr. Butcher. And I have on my YouTube page the video of Dr. Butcher doing the routines before he gave them.
That's what I saw. Yeah, that's what I saw.
Yeah.
Yo, Rob, I gotta ask you this one. I'd like to say that the X-Men's way of going about making routines, just the composition that you guys were doing, like, like just for instance, the catch the beat. I got another funky break. Dubba dubba dubba. Pattern, sequence, and back to I got another funky break. Where would you say the origins of that is? Would you say that's from Butcher as far as making like like a quick little chorus and then go back to another sequence kind of thing? Like, because I mean that's something that we really didn't hear before. Like, as beat juggling patterns evolved, it was definitely you and Joey Sinister who were making those kind of like, you know what I mean? How was kind of those, it was building to being original compositions, you know what I'm saying? So,
No, totally.
where would you say the origins of that came from?
Okay, so in the early 90s, with regards to beat juggling, I would say the three primary examples that we had was Aladdin, Cutmaster Swift, and Steve D. And out of the three, I would say Steve D was the one that helped the style of beat juggling develop to what we understand it to be today, which is like hand choreographed patterns of movement. Whereas Aladdin was a little more random and off the cuff with his movements. And whereas Cutmaster Swift did have one move, those eighth note fills, bad, 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 good, 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 like on Peter Piper, Run DMC. Steve had a variety of different patterns that he would apply to different segments or portions of a song. So depending on what beat, you have 4 beats in a bar: the 1, the 2, the 3, the 4, and inside those beats you have eighth notes and 16th notes. So depending on what beat he had underneath his fingertips, there were patterns that would work. And he would do this in battles round to round to round to round to round, or I should say round after round after round after round. But people couldn't figure out that it was patterns, because with every song, being that you're now manipulating a different song, you could do the same pattern or variation of that pattern on another song, but it'll sound different to you because the palette of sound is different because it's a different song. And so Steve, I would say, was definitely the guy that like helped cultivate the idea of patterns and hand choreography. But if you watch Steve D's routines in the 1990 DMC or seminar, there was it's like there was like like a rough outline of what he was doing, but if you watch Steve D, when he would transition from one part to another, it wasn't on beat. Like he would do a pattern, let's say the snare pattern.
Yeah.
I coin it the snare pattern. He would do it, and then if he wanted to go to another section of the song, he would pick up the needle, drop it on close to the section, and then he would just slap the
Slam
fader
it in.
over. Yeah, like so when he would slap the fader over, you'd hear like a random two come in after a four. It's not like you would hear a one after the four. You see what I'm saying?
Yeah.
So I don't know what the word is that I want to use. I don't want to say messy, that it was messy, but there was no real like
No real structure to it yet. Yeah.
Yeah, there was no structure to it. Right.
It wasn't a super composed, like it's like
Right.
if you get I mean that's what I noticed about the routines back in like the maybe like the early 90s, where you kind of got a pattern off and then you just jump to the next pattern, but there was like there was no segue, there was no clean like transition to it.
Right. You would
Yeah.
literally jump into the next pattern, and it didn't matter if when you made that transition, you weren't thinking about, or the DJs back then weren't thinking about, I want to transition on beat, and like it has to be like the next segment. It was just kind of, DJs would just go off like bam 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 bam, and then like go to the next spot and then go off there, and that was more Steve D style.
Right,
So
it was like
when-
some type of method to the madness type of thing.
Right. You knew he was doing patterns, but the structure wasn't there. And when I started training with Dr. Butcher, he was like, "Yo, Rob, like, we need to figure out a way to like flip these songs the way Steve D does it, because what he's doing is dope and it's funky, and that's just the shit now. Like making beats, we didn't even call it beat juggling back then. We just called it making beats. Like making beats on records, yo, that's dope. So we got to figure out a way to like make beats, but he would tell me, he's like, "Yo, Rob, I want you to like create a song." And the best way I could describe it or explain it to you guys is, if there's anyone out there that ever did a beat like on an SP 1200 or an MPC 2000, for example, I'll just reference the SP 1200 because that's what I started on. And I remember at the time, Large Professor was like the king of the SP 1200, and he had songs out like Live at the Barbecue and Snake Eyes on his album with Main Source, Breaking Atoms. And I referenced that because what Dr. Butcher would tell me was, on the SP 1200, you loop something, but then there's like segments. There's like a song mode aspect to the SP 1200 where you could take a loop and then build on it and build on it and build on it. And by like the 50th song mode or bar of this beat that you're making, you could have horns coming in and delay and crazy stuff. And he was like, "Yo, that's what I want to see you do." So it's not that Dr. Butcher was doing it, because remember, he was training me, but he was just like pointing me in the direction that he felt beat juggling needed to go. And so he was like, "Yo, Rob, think like you're a producer on an SP 1200, but you're using turntables."
Right.
And
So you're pretty much like using the SP 1200 as a thing. You're pretty much taking all those segments and programming into song mode, basically, but manually.
on turntables, but manually,
turntables,
right? On turntables, exactly. So I remember I went to his house one day. I walked in and he was cutting up Nobody Beats the Biz. And like I walked in as he was practicing, and I'm watching, and I'm like, "Yo, yeah, this is a dope record." And then he stopped and he was like, "Yo, man, there's shit on this record." He was like, he didn't even finish practicing. He took the records off the turntable, put them in their jacket, and handed me the records. And he was like, "Yo, Rob, take these records home. There's shit in here." And what he meant by that was like, he was like, "Yo," basically what he was saying, he didn't say these words, but what he was basically saying was, there are patterns here. There's a song. There's a beat juggle orchestration here You just have to tap into it. Like you gotta like take the record home and tap into all of the different patterns that I know are in this record. And like
What,
him just telling me that, I knew exactly what he was saying. So I put the records in my record bag, and then we started practicing other shit. Like I think we might have started practicing like body tricks or some shit like that. Like we weren't. I just knew when I heard him say that what he wanted me to do, and I took the records home, and like over the course of like 4 or 5 days, I came up with the Nobody Beats the Biz routine. And I just had his voice in my head the whole time. Like I would come up with one section, and then it was like, all right, now sit and listen to the song. Like what else is here? What else did you guys were talking about Marley Marl earlier? Like what else did Marley Marl do? Oh, he's Biz Markie. Oh, okay, like I could take that and so I would study the record literally like inch by inch. I would study the whole record, and then I isolated the portions of the song that spoke to me, that I felt inspired to want to flip
flip it.
and get busy
Yeah.
on. And so that's when all those patterns, all of the, I mean, yo, I can't even count how many patterns I did on that song. And the thing about it is, the patterns that I came up with for that song, I only do on that song. Whereas today, a lot of people that beat juggle, majority, like 99%, they'll come up with a pattern and they do the same pattern on every record, similar to like what Steve was doing in 1990. But you'll never see me do the biz patterns on another song, because my creativity was being channeled 1000% to that song in a specific way. And then when I would grab another song, then my creativity would be channeled to serve that other
That sound
song that I
okay.
was using.
Which comes to my next question, Rob. Is would you say that's what makes you like? Would Nobody Beats the Biz, that record and that routine, pretty much gave you the blueprint from for other records that you made routines with, of how to, you know, your, I guess your recipe
Yes.
to find,
Yes.
the
Yes.
different breaks. Oh, this part of the record has a break. I'm gonna use that part,
Yes.
and how to select certain records that you want to mess with to actually make routines out of.
Nobody Beats the Biz is the song. I wish, man, that the videotape for the 1991 DMC that I entered was released. Like they were there filming it, but they never released it. And I wish they did release it, because if you see my routine, I have the audio, but not the video. But if you see my routine in 1991, it was more like what Steve D was doing. It was just like random, like just slam the record in, get to the part you want to juggle it, take the needle off, get the other record, slam it in, get to the part you want to juggle, take the needle off. Like it was more like very aggressive, and like just there was no structure. It was about just killing it.
Just
And then
just getting from pattern to pattern, just
Pattern to
getting the
pattern.
pattern off.
Right, but I placed third, right? I placed third in that DMC, and Drew was still training me, and that's when he was like, "Yo, we gotta like, there needs to be more order to what we're doing." Like, he was like, "Rob, I want you to create routines that are like songs. Literally, there's an introduction, there's the body, and then there's the outro. And then when you get out, you get into the next song, and you transition into this next song the way a DJ would mix from one song to the next. Like, he was like, I don't want you to be random anymore. Like, I want you to have structure." So it's not that Dr. Butcher taught me how to have structure. He would tell me, he would point me down a road, and then I would trust him and take his direction, and then discover what was on that path for me. And routines like Nobody Beats the Biz came together. The bridge, Public Enemy, the wah, 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 wah,
Oh, word.
that shit. Because again, if you watch that routine, no one was doing melodies and then juggling drums at the same time at that point in juggling and in that period of DJ battles. But by then, Drew instilled in me, you are an SP 1200. You're not turntables. You're an SP. You're someone you're not on turntables. You're someone on an SP 1200 whenever you juggle, Rob. And so like my mindset was like this shit. Whatever I do, it has to have structure. It needs to be in song mode, the way Large Professor does his beats on the SP 1200 or Pete Rock, for example. And that's when I started coming up with like routines like the bridge and Public Enemy, the I'm gonna make it real funky for you, the
Right.
Pterodome, all
Oh
that
man.
stuff.
Though I mean that makes sense in terms of like, again, referencing your DMC routine, like from start to finish, everything is different. It's interesting in terms of like you said about tech. You know, like you will have the techniques, but like in everything you do, it's really your flavor and your personality flipping those techniques into each different songs. Because like I agree with you, Rob. You like everything in terms of like you'll have all the techniques, but what are you going to do to make it different from each song and stuff like that?
Well, look, let's say Nobody Beats the Biz, Heartbeat, which is the I'm gonna make it
I'll
real
make it real
funky for
fun. Yeah.
you
Yeah.
routine, the bridge Public Enemy, Welcome to the Terradome, Dr. Knockboots. I'll just stop at five, right? We have five routines that, and I'm not saying this to sound pompous or conceited or anything, but any DJ today picks up any of those five records and tries to do something, automatically you're going to be compared to me because of what I did to those records, right? Similar to someone trying to cut Art of Noise beatbox. Like it's it's something that like you're wasting your time because at the end of the day, you're just going to be compared to what Shortkut did.
Right.
And
It's a signature. It's basically
right, it's a signature routine that like is attached to a specific DJ's name. So in my case, with those five songs, if you Google them or do a search on YouTube for those routines, Nobody Beats the Biz, Funky for You, The Bridge, Public Enemy, Welcome to the Terradome, Dr. Knockboots, and you study each routine, the patterns on Nobody Beats the Biz, you won't see on Dr. Knockboots or
right.
Funky for You or Terradome or The Bridge and Public Enemy. The patterns that you see on Dr. Knockboots, you won't see on Nobody Beats the Biz or Terradome, et cetera, et cetera. Like my approach to juggling was always, what is the song telling me to do? Whereas I feel the approach to juggling today for the modern beat juggler is I know this pattern, I'm gonna do it on this song.
Right.
I don't approach it that way. Like I grab a song and to me, something that Dr. Butcher would tell me is like, yo, let's forget we know how to DJ. Let's just literally erase our minds and like go into this shit like completely fresh.
Right.
So when I would grab a record to this day, I don't think about the patterns I know. I just start letting my hands move and I hear or listen for what my hands are causing to come out of the speaker. And then when I find something that I like, then it's like, okay, what did I just do? Figure out the hand choreography. But it's always special or specific to that song.
Right. What I was getting at in terms of like this is like we all have techniques and stuff, but it's like end of the day, it's like what you put into it. That's what I'm saying. It's your signature. Everything that you've done, like for each song and stuff. There might be certain things that like it's like you're doing you're lifting weights, right, or riding a bike or whatever, right? You all have those fundamentals, but once you understand the fundamentals, it's it's the person that puts into it. That's what I'm saying in terms of like your signature of like what I've noticed.
Your voice,
yes,
your
basically
your
that's what I'm saying.
personality, your rhythm.
Right. It got like you just hit it on the nail. It's like say like Short's beatbox is a signature song. Nobody Biz is like. And we're from a different era too. It's like you can't do the same thing over. If you're gonna do something, you better flip it better, technically. Like just like totally different. That like I never thought of that way. Like that. So but that's what I was trying to get at Rob. So.
Yo, Rob.
But I wanted to ask this. I wanted to ask this question because this is pertaining to Butcher, this is me as a nerd in terms of just a hip hop nerd. But we know that you've been talking about Butcher for such a long time. But I want to ask you this in terms of history. Before Butcher was a DJ, I've heard he was an MC, and if can you confirm this? And that he was in a group with LL Cool J.
Yes, he was. He was.
So-
Dr. Butcher, he's like Forrest Gump, man. Like, you know that movie Forrest Gump, and like this guy is like in these watershed moments with these benchmark people that help change history, and he's just there. And that to me is Dr. Butcher. Like, yeah, he was in a group with LL Cool J. He used to rap.
What was his MC name, and what was the name of the group that he was with in Cool J? If you do know,
I believe his MC name was Drew Ski, and I forget the name. Something, I think the word trio was in the group, but it was three of them. It was LL, Drew, and another guy. I forgot the other guy's name, but yeah, they all went to high school together. You know, and another cool gem or anecdote regarding Dr. Butcher was, I don't know if the people watching, I know you guys know what I'm talking about, but the song Dangerous by LL Cool J from his first album Radio, it's a song about Cut Creator, who was LL Cool J's DJ. Now, there's two Cut Creators. There's an original Cut Creator, this guy named Phil, and then there's the Cut Creator that people know today,
From the records.
who ironically his name is Phil too. But yeah, which is crazy. But the Cut Creator that people know today was actually LL Cool J's road manager back then. And the original Cut Creator who left LL after the first album mentored Dr. Butcher. And the original Cut Creator, if you listen to the scratches on songs like I Need a Beat and Dangerous, yo, that dude was nasty. Like, he was nasty. Like, if you think about the kind of gear that they were using back then, the faders with no curves, the turntables, belt drive turntables, that this guy was nasty. So anyway, I just bring that up to say, like, yeah, Dr. Butcher, he's been around people for, a long time. And it's just interesting that, like, people don't really know him the way they know a Jazzy Jeff or a Cash Money or DJ Cheese, but he was on that caliber. But the thing is he would always sacrifice himself to help people like myself or Mr. Sinister, So I love that guy, man, and that's why I talk about him the way I do, because it just goes to show the how important mentorship is in this art form, man. Like, if you have a mentor that cares about you and really wants to see you succeed, man, you could go on to accomplish so much. And I feel for a lot of the DJs today that, like, are out there trying to find their way, and they live in places where, like, they can't collaborate with other DJs, and then they're by themselves. You know what I mean? Because, like, DJing is a communal art, and when you do it with other people, like when I joined the X-Men and I was practicing with Raider and Steve and Johnny Cash, then it took my skill level to like just beyond what I was doing with Dr. Butcher, because now I was getting different feedback, and I'm practicing with guys that, like, are approaching this slightly different from the way myself and Drew were in Corona, Queens, in his house, So practicing with people, having mentors is very helpful.
Definitely, man. I mean,
I have to agree.
Yeah, but I mean, that takes me back to the original times when I would go down to LA and hook up with Rhett, and we'd just be in the garage, right? Rhett, just making up routines and making up, patterns, and just tripping each other out on, oh shit, you know what I mean? So, Rob, I've been meaning to ask. So, I just want to take it back to the origins, also, since we're talking about, when you were hooking up with Butcher, was Butcher at X-Men already, or who was the original? Like, how was that connection? Because, like I said, you know, X-Men as a collective, you guys are just so responsible for so much of what we see as modern day beat juggling and all that. Who were the original members at the time? Let's say before you even got in. Who were the core
So
members?
the X-Men started circa 1988,
Oh damn.
and
Okay.
Steve D lived in one section of Harlem, and Sean C, who now is known as a producer, who's worked with the likes of Jay-Z, Pusha T, Black Thought. At the time, he was a DJ, and Sean lived in another section of Harlem, like around Lenox Avenue, and Steve D lived in the St. Nicholas area of Harlem. Steve was friends with a guy named Johnny Cash who lived near him, and Sean C was friends with a guy named Rock Raider who lived near Sean. But Steve and Sean were friends, and they both DJ'd. And at the time, the Supermen were like the most feared, respected DJ crew. Superman, Clark Kent was like their leader, Richie Rich, DJ Scratch, Plastic Man, Aladdin was a Superman, DJ Muggs from
Mugs.
Cypress
Yep.
Hill was a
That's right.
Superman.
Yep.
So yeah, they were like the most respected DJs, and Steve would enter battles, and this isn't my opinion or feelings. I'm just explaining because this is like a touchy subject. So like I'm just explaining like the history behind shit. But Steve like would enter competitions. For example, Steve battled in the 90 East Coast DMC, right?
Right.
And placed second to Plastic Man. And Plastic Man was a Superman. And Clark Kent helped curate the 1990 DMC battle. And DJ Scratch and Richie Rich were judges in the 1990 East Coast DMC battle. So Steve placed second, but a lot of people, I wasn't there, so I can't say what percentage of people, but I know I saw the battle on Video Music Box. And to me, what Steve D did was more innovative and more progressive than what Plastic Man was
Plastic Man was
doing.
doing.
But Plastic Man won.
Is this
And so
pre? Is this pre Steve's win for the seminar?
this is before Steve won the seminar. So
Okay.
I referenced that to say Steve would get in these battles that other Supermen were in and lose to them in Steve's mind because they're judging a la Richie Rich, DJ Scratch, and Clark Kent is one of the guys curating the battles. So it's like, yo, this shit is rigged. This shit is rigged. We used to use the word sham, like, yo, the sham is in. They're gonna sham us. Shamming meaning rob us, or it's not gonna be fair because like you have Superman in the battle, and you have Superman judging, and you have one of the leader of the Supermen curating the battle. So Steve and Sean were like, yo, fuck those dudes, man. Like let's battle them. Like, fuck them, let's battle them. Whereas everyone else was like, oh my God, the Superman. Oh my God, DJ Scratch. Oh my God, Richie Rich. Oh my God, Clark Kent. Oh my God, DJ Aladdin. Steve and Sean was like, fuck all of them. We're better than them. Yo, we should battle them. And that's why they called themselves the X-Men.
Okay, so that's
So
what pretty
Amazing.
much.
Yeah.
So that pretty much started it up. Now I know you. I know.
Well, real quick. So Sean was friends with Raider. Steve was friends with Johnny Cash,
Johnny Cash.
and so they formed the original four members. And then as Steve was like the guy, the front man of the four, entering competitions, battling dudes, and in battles they would meet other guys that they like got along with and thought were cool, and so they met Diamond J and Exotic E, rest in peace, in 1990. They met me in 1991 when I entered, and they were like, "Yo, who's this guy, Rob Swift? Like, he came out of nowhere and he's dope." Like, they invited me to Harlem to practice with them, and then they asked me and Dr. Butcher to get down. Obviously, me and Dr. Butcher were friends with Mr. Sinister. So, like, 2 years after me and Drew got down with the X-Men, we put Sinister down. I met Total Eclipse in 1994, took him under my wing, started training him. By 1996, after he won the ITF battle, we put him down. And that's how the crew grew. And, there are other members, big up to DMD. A lot of people don't know that Fat Man Scoop is an X-Men.
Oh, I heard about that.
Yeah. Like, I don't know if, people know who Fat Man Scoop is, but Scoop is like the voice of the club. Like, Crooklyn Clan and like the yelling and all that stuff. Like, Fat Man.
Put your hands up! Put your hands up! Put your hands up!
Yeah. That's Fat. We should just call him Scoop back then, but he was like the rapper for the X-Men. So yeah, it's a bunch of us.
Okay, so was there an official Superman X-Men battle? Was there ever any time? No.
We wanted to battle them. And there's cool. You guys asking some really good questions because like I have all my answers. I could back them up with video proof. If you go to my YouTube channel and do a search for Clark Kent, X-Men, Superman, you'll see a cool excerpt that was filmed by a guy named John Carluccio. It was a excerpt that never made a documentary, never made the movie Battle Sounds, but John sent it to me because he thought it was cool, and I still have it in my closet of videotapes. But he's interviewing Clark Kent, and he's asking Clark Kent, like, why didn't you guys ever battle the X-Men?
Oh, I seen that one.
Yeah, right. And Clark is saying, he's like, yo, like, I don't like the fact that Steve D would wear the Superman shirts because it's like, yo, you trying to diss us? You know what I mean? And the truth is, Steve D was kind of, that was gamesmanship, like he was like, what's the word I'm looking for? Like not subliminally, because it was like
mental warfare.
But it was like mental warfare. Exactly. That's a great way to put it. So Steve would wear the Superman shirt to fuck with them because he was basically, again, trying to get them to battle us.
Yeah, that's gangster, man.
Yeah.
That's dope.
But Clark,
because if you didn't know any better, you just thought the S on his chest was for Steve, right?
Steve.
No, Steve was doing it to like, it was like him like prodding them, like what's up? I'm wearing your shit. What's up? You know what I mean? But Clark was like, but like I respected those guys, and like if there was a battle that would have taken place, I would have wanted it to be for money. He was like, I wasn't just gonna. Whereas you guys were asking me earlier, like Dr. Butcher, did he battle for money? Did he battle for names? And it was like, no, he just battled just to like battle for like practice. We wanted to just battle them for the same reasons, just for practice, or maybe not just for practice. Maybe I'm being a little dishonest there. Like we wanted to battle them not necessarily for money, but because Steve was getting jerked at these competitions, and the mentality back then was like, if you diss one of us, you're dissing all of us. You know what I mean? Yep. So it was like, yo, let's battle these guys. But Clark was a businessman, and he was like, nah, dude, like if we're gonna battle these dudes, we need to come away with this shit. With everyone needs to leave with mad dough, and no promoter is gonna be able to come up with the kind of money that I would want for us, because we're already making money, and it's like, why are we gonna battle them for nothing? Like I gotta get something out of this shit. And that's why a battle never took place. So we ended up battling the invisible scratch pickers for nothing. For nothing. Just for the culture, man, as they say.
Yeah.
You know?
Yeah.
So I know you guys, now, back then it was pretty heated. We've seen it ourselves personally, but now obviously everyone's like, we're all grown and cool and stuff. But here's my hypothetical question. So if you had that battle, right, if it was Superman versus X-Men, who would you see each member like facing off against? Like if you would, like, how, like, for instance, And I remember this like it was like yesterday, right there after fucking battling the first ITF battle. Like Short had to go against Sinister. You were paired against Mike. You against Raider. Like if from your point of view, Rob, if the X-Men and Superman battle, who would you see yourself pairing up against, and vice versa with their other members?
And before you answer, Rob, does it pretty much add up to what Clark said? Would you say it's the same? Because I know he mentioned
yeah,
you.
in the video, Clark basically explains who he thinks his guys should have battled if that was going to take place. And
Right.
I'm honored. I'm very honored that Clark was like, "Yo, I'd battle Rob Swift," and he
Yeah.
was like, "I'd battle Rob Swift because he was a thinker,
Thinkers.
and
Yep.
I'm a thinker," and he pegged me right. Like I am a thinker, and everything I do, like I sit down and like I map it out in my mind, like what do I want to do? Like I'm super cerebral with regards to DJing. That said, if I were the one choosing the matchups, I would have wanted to go against Scratch. I would have wanted to battle Scratch. I think Raider versus Richie Rich would have been perfect. I would have put Steve D against Clark only because it's leader against leader. You know what I mean?
Yeah.
Like Steve D was the front man of the X-Men and Clark Kent was the front man of the Superman. So to me, it would have made sense to have Steve battle Clark. I would have put Dr. Butcher on Plastic Man.
Amazing.
Yeah. Though, I would say those are the main matchups because, at the time in the early 90s when the X-Men were really coming up, Aladdin, I think, sort of kind of like, I don't know, he wasn't really
Well,
seen.
So
You know?
well, here I can tell you that from being from from L.A. So I mean, okay, you said Muggs and Aladdin were what do you call it? Were Superman, and with a lot of people didn't know that Aladdin and Muggs were roommates and stuff, right? So Muggs is like like of course Cypress Hill, but he was also like DJing for 783. Aladdin was part of also like for us. He was a K-Day mix master before he was a Superman. So that was interesting that he like that he like from our point of view that they put that Aladdin and Muggs is a Superman, but we always knew like everybody knew like at least here in LA Aladdin was a K-Day mix master straight like that was in terms of groups like you had the Superman and stuff. The K-Day mix masters was our superheroes. I mean that was our all stars, meaning like Tony G, Julio G, Joe Cooley, Aladdin, Jammin' Gemini, DJ Tracy, Battle Cat. I mean, we Ralph M from the Funk Dubious. Like we had our own super.
The big super crew, the pre Pickles, pre Beat Junkies.
Yeah, that was to tell you the truth, that was the basis what the Beat Junkies were based off the K-Day Mix Masters.
K-Day Mix Masters, yeah.
Yeah. So
well, you know what, Rhett, I'm sorry to cut you off, but I just wanted to say, go into this since we're talking about the West Coast DJs, and this is mind you, this is stuff that me and Rhett talked about before we were going into this interview. What was your Rob? What was your knowledge about the West Coast?
So that's a great question.
DJs?
That's a great question. The only DJs that I knew from the West Coast that I was studying was I didn't even really know much about Joe Cooley. I knew about Aladdin and Muggs. But you know what's funny about Muggs is from Queens.
yes.
Yeah, that's
He's
right.
actually from Queens. But everyone thought he was from LA, and so at the time I thought I'm studying this like West Coast DJ, but really he was from Queens. But anyway, those two I would say Aladdin and Muggs. But then 1991, Steve D makes it to the USA Finals, places second, comes home. I remember we're sitting at Sean C's house. Like some of us on the floor, others are like on the couch. I remember this vividly. And we're sitting in Sean C's house, and Steve D is explaining to us, A, that he came in second, And so we're like, yo, well, how is it that you didn't win? And who did win then? And he was like, yo, man, this kid Cubert. Uh, and at the time, we thought Cub. Well, Steve D thought Cubert was Hawaiian. He didn't know because and growing up in New York City, at least in the area that like they were coming up in Harlem, New York City, they're surrounded predominantly by black people and maybe some Dominicans and some Puerto Ricans or whatever, but they didn't know what a Filipino was. You know what I mean? So they thought Cuba was Hawaiian. So Steve is like, yo, this like Hawaiian kid, Cubert, he won. And we're like, what did he do? And Steve really couldn't even explain it. He was just like, yo, the guy did like a bunch of little things. Like, it wasn't that like, it's not like he was making beats like us, or it's not like he was doing body tricks. It's like he had all these ideas that he put together in a 6-minute set. And we're like, well, what do you mean? And he's like, well, for example, yo, the dude took a like a tone and played Mary Had a Little Lamb. And we're like, what? Like he played Mary Had a Little Lamb? Like that to us was just bugged out. And I mean that in a good way, not a bad way. Because at the time it was like, yo, you're beat juggling or you're scratching, and we didn't even call it beat juggling. We called it making beats. Like you're either making beats, you're scratching, or you're doing body tricks. Who plays Mary Had a Little Lamb on a turntable? And then he was like, yo, and then the dude took like there was a point where like he had the mixer in the middle and the turntables were flanking the mixer. And then there was a point, where he did this body trick. I guess you could call it a body trick where like he lifted the turntable up with one hand, moved the mixer to the side, put the turntable down. And we're like, what? Like we didn't have the video yet. So we're just picturing all this stuff that Steve D is telling us about Cuba.
So you guys didn't even get to see the video. As you guys are talking, you guys are just talking about what he did.
We're just talking about what he did. And then he tells us, yo, and then like this guy, he took the needle, like unscrewed it from the turntable, flipped it over, screwed it back into the tone arm, and then took a record and was scratching on top of the needle. So we were like, whoa, like this guy like literally broke. Like I was going to say break the rules, but like it wasn't even that. Like he went, it's like, like a piece of paper, you have like lines and then you have like margins. And most people write within the margins, right? Like you write whatever it is that you're writing within the margins. It's like Hubert was just writing everything like out of the borders. He went out of the boundaries. Like he went out of the restrictions of what you would see a battle DJ do in a competition. And he was like, yo, this dude just like, it's like he broke every rule and just went out of the boundaries. And we're like, damn, I can't wait to see this video. And then finally,
so it even tripped Steve out. He was tripping out.
It tripped him out. It tripped him out. And then fast forward a few months, and we enter we meaning me and Rock Raider, because now Steve D is touring with groups like Guy. He retired from battling. Sean C started devoting more of his energy into producing. Dr. Butcher was helping Mr. Sinister. So me and Raider were the only ones from the X-Men battling. And fast forward to that was the 1991 USA DMC. Fast forward to the 1991 New Music Seminar battle, which became the Clark Kent battle. Myself and Rock Raider are in it, and guess who's judging? Hubert.
Oh shit.
And so full circle, like he was telling you guys when he went back home, like, yo, these guys are on some like next level beat juggling shit. We met Hubert and we hit it off with him. I remember talking to Hubert like after the battle ended, and what's dope? I'm gonna give you guys like a really cool little like secret gossip shit. I got bounced out of the 91 seminar in the second round, and Hubert told me, dude, he was like, not to expose Hubert, and it's all good. It's all love now, dude. Like I'm living really good, and so like it's not like I have a chip on my shoulder about this. But I remember Hubert was like, "Yo, man, like I don't know why you." He was like, "Yo, I don't know why you didn't advance, Rob, because like I voted for you." And I'm like, "Well, what happened?" Right? Because I was pissed. I thought I should have advanced to the next round. And he was like, "Yo, Scratch told us not to vote for you." And I'm like, "What?"
Ah.
I'm like, "What?" He was like, "Yeah, like Scratch told us not to vote for you." But he was like, "Yo, I thought you were dope, man." And like, and that's one of the reasons why I wanted to battle Scratch so bad too, you know. But
Which
but
just
I say
intensified the X-Men and
yeah,
Superman beef.
exactly. But I say that to say that that's why I hit it so much with I hit it off so well with Kubert is because like I felt like damn man like this dude thinks for himself like he's here judging this battle and he didn't let a Superman influence his judging and I like that about him and he just made a really good impression on me so like we switched numbers and like I would call Kubert and then he mailed me the videotape of the 91
Oh shit.
DMC, and that's when I
Dope.
first saw it, and I was like, "Oh shit, this is the shit that Steve was talking about. That Q was doing. Like when he picks up the turntable, moves it, then moves the mixer to the side, and scratching on top of the needle because he flipped the needle over, playing Mary Had a Little Lamb. Like, and now I'm seeing it because Qbert sent us the video, and so yeah, man, like that's when I started hearing about like cats like Mixmaster Mike and Apollo and fucking FM20 and all that. And then I met you Short in the 93
Yeah, that's right.
seminar. I remember I Short the first time I encountered you was at the Palladium on
Palladium
14th Street. Yeah,
during
and you were
during the
walking.
it was the East West
Yeah,
what do you call
yeah,
it, right?
yeah. But I didn't know who you were. You recognized me and you're like, "Oh shit, Rob Swift." And I was like, "What's up?" And you were like, "Yo, my name's Shortkut. I'm in the battle." And then I was like, "Oh, dope." I was like, "Yo, man, good luck and all that shit." And then you and I fucking to this day, like we're in Gap commercials. Who would have thought, dude? Who would have
Yeah,
thought when we met
it still blows my
in
mind, bro.
1993 when we met at the Palladium on 14th Street in New York City that by 2001 you and I were going to be in a Gap commercial together. Like God is amazing, bro.
Yeah,
For real.
yeah, definitely, man. So
But
thankful
yeah,
that
I didn't start really hearing about West Coast DJs until like the early 90s because again, back then there was no social media, there was no smartphones, no internet. So you just knew your neighborhood and your city and maybe Philly DJs. That's it, you know?
So in terms of so you're just to backtrack. So Aladdin and Muggs was probably your I guess the earliest of knowing who were from the West Coast, and then you
That's
said you,
it.
yeah, and you didn't.
And now, DJs like Bobcat because they scratched
Cats on
on
records.
they scratched on records. And he was in the LA Posse.
Yeah,
But it's not like I knew who Joe Cooley was. I knew the name, like I knew the name
but you
from
weren't
like
familiar with like the records or
I
anything
wasn't
like that.
familiar. No, I wasn't familiar with those guys and like their style or any of that.
That's interesting. So let's kind of even back backtrack a little bit. So someone like say Joe Cooley. So for me personally, the ultimate battle in terms of say East versus West would be the seminar battle with Joe Cooley versus Cash Money.
Cash Money. Uh-oh.
Right.
Yeah.
Now for me, I'll speak for myself because I remember watching the tapes. Like shouts to Curse, who was Pete Chunky, OG Pete Chunky. He like say for you like Butcher was your mentor. Curse was kind of like my mentor and stuff like that. So he had a tape, which is going around L.A. It was the version of Ice-T filming it.
Yeah.
That's how I found out about the seminar battles. Is but watching that shit, Ice-T like talking shit, yo, and shit like that.
Yeah.
So right, so and that spread like through wildfire in L.A. and stuff. So and it was crazy to see the battle and Cash Money winning by 1 point. You put up. You actually put up I don't know how long ago you put it up.
It's a different version of
A
it.
different version. The
Yeah,
version
a
that
different perspective.
it was actually even more cleaner because what
Yeah.
we saw was just like this iced tea, just this, it's shaking and shit like
Right,
that.
right.
And
And my perspective is whoever was filming, I think, was like on the stage.
Yeah,
that was
it
iced
it
tea.
was a
That's what I was saying. It was iced tea. That's iced tea's.
No.
No. There was another
Oh,
one.
the other one. Yeah.
The iced tea version. Ice T's in a crowd, and you hear
Yeah.
him,
Right.
and he's farther away. The version that I uploaded, whoever filmed it was on the stage, like right there filming them.
Super clear.
Yeah.
Yeah.
And is that your version that had the updated audio as well? Oh no, okay, yeah. I don't know if you guys are familiar with Michael Shum on YouTube, but he had a version where he put both audio, I mean both videos, but then there's a audio from the mixing board, so you can hear it. Yeah, you guys got to watch it. It's super clear. I think I played it here on Table Talk before, but
That's sick.
But yeah, just that battle alone. Sorry, Rhett. I know. Go get to your question.
So I mean, did you were you able to see that battle during before prior to this stuff, or did you see that a little bit later?
I didn't see the Joe Cooley Cash Money battle until like I want to say like the late 90s.
Oh damn!
Oh
yeah,
wow!
Yeah. I didn't see it until the late 90s. Again, dude, like back then, dude, like I don't know. I think the fact that we didn't have immediate access to footage, although at the time you wanted to see every battle that you knew existed, because technology was slower back then. It's like you were limited in that way. But I'm also thankful because you were in your own world, man. So you weren't really being influenced. You know how now you could upload a video, and if that video goes viral, let's say whoever wins this year's DMC, let's say he does something that just goes viral. Within days, you have a gazillion DJs copying that thing that DJ is going viral for. And I don't say that as a diss. It's actually human nature. Like if you see something and you like it, naturally you copy it. But because we didn't have the means to share videos as fast as people do now, you were forced to just kind of like create your own imaginary world of like what you could do with DJing.
Techniques were being made on the spot. You know what I mean?
And I
would say.
Yeah, exactly. And I think because of that, the majority of the innovations that people to this day, 2022, still do come from the late 80s and the early 90s. Because, dude, like I was in my house creating this routine with a song called Nobody Beats the Biz that went on to be timeless, that went on to inspire patterns like Shortkut's chase pattern. You know what I mean? That went on to be textbook movements that to this day people study, learn, and do in their routines. I think that the reason for that is because I was forced to be inventive, and I was forced to like really use my imagination because I wasn't really being influenced. I think, dude, if I had access to Joe Cooley and this video and that video, I don't think my style would have went in the direction that it did. Because
none of our styles would be that way.
Yeah, exactly.
Right. No, totally. I mean, like again, it's interesting like coming from like from New York, from Queens, Shorts from the Bay, and I'm from from LA, and like how you listen to Red Alert, and Chuck Chill Out, and and Marley Marl and stuff. Like for us, K-Day was like there was either K-Day, KGFJ. Another group was Uncle Jam's Army. They were like our they were our first big super DJ crew per se before the Kelly Mix Masters. That's where Bobcat originated. LA Posse originated from DJ Pooh from Uncle Jam's Army. So I mean, I'm sure that's just something that's like you're not knowing, but this for me growing up, a lot of stuff that was coming from New York would play on K-Day. So we would not. They would play anything that was from whatever. LA was, same thing probably like the Bay. We would get it like 2-3 years later. We were behind. So that's where all the fast stuff in terms of why West Coast why they scratch fast, because we were listening to Planet Rock, not knowing about the breaks and stuff like that. So, and we would hear it about like just for you, Rob, to understand coming from a LA perspective, we heard about like when Uncle Jam's Army and K-Day would break Run DMC over here. They would break Mantronics. They would break like playing like Nocera. They would break Joyce Sims, but then at the same time we would listen to King T, Toddy T, World Class Wrecking Crew, like Dr. Dre was one. There are a lot of people don't know Dre was a dope ass DJ. He was one of the dopest DJs from LA.
And scratchers
like
too, man.
And scratchers and shit like that. So that's what's interesting to hear from your point of view, and then going into the battles, because like for us, when we heard about Joe Cooley being in this battle and stuff, that was a big thing in LA. That was really big. It was like, and if you're lucky that if you had a friend that had that tape of Ice-T, that was a thing, because Ice-T was like, we would see Ice-T and Eazy-E around the way and shit like that. It was crazy just to hear about that, and to even put into context, Aladdin is like an understudy of Joe Cooley and Tony G, like you might not know who Tony G is, Rob, but for us, he was a godfather for us. Especially, he was the one that kind of started the K-Day Mix Masters. He put Joe Cooley and Aladdin into the Mix Masters and stuff like that. And in some ways,
he was our Jazzy Jeff.
He was our Jazzy Jeff. Jeff actually, a lot of people don't know that Tony G was in the new seminar battle with Jeff and shit like that.
86, yeah.
Yeah, and Jeff, Tony G he's a Latino. He's Cuban. He originally came from New York, then to Miami, then to LA and shit like that. All our styles, you see how Aladdin did the L scratches and stuff? That's all because of Tony G. Wow. All the snare scratches or the kick pops, pop, 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 pop. That's all Tony G.
That's sick.
Yeah.
Crazy.
Yeah.
Rob, can I ask you something?
Yeah.
What as far as just the West Coast, how you said that, how we're just talking about, like, we didn't really know about stuff till the VHSs came out. Mm-hmm. Is there something that, I guess it's my original question was like, what was the first, actually, no, me and Rhett were talking about this. For the 1992 USA battle, what were you feeling as far as, because everyone was individual, but then it was Mike, Q, and Apollo. You know what I mean?
Yeah.
For that finals. Was that your first time seeing that routine? And what did you feel about, like, what did you think about that whole concept of,
So, honestly, I thought it was unfair.
Unfair. Okay.
I felt like, damn, man, like, I'm about to retire from battling. And this had to be the year that the DMC allowed a team to go up against individual DJs. It had to be this year. It couldn't be next year or the year after that. It had to be the year that I know I'm going to retire. Win or lose, I'm not going to just keep battling and battling and battling. Because I knew that I just wanted to experience competitions for 2 years and then move on with my career and take the next step and start touring, which I did. I ended up touring with Akinelli as his tour DJ. I started recording music with him in the studio, worked with Large Professor. So, yes, to answer your question, I wouldn't say I was bitter but I was definitely frustrated that that year the DMC allowed teams to
Teams.
compete. That said, what those guys did was incredible, and it helped us reinvent what we were doing as the executioners, because we were very individual oriented as DJs. Like, you enter a battle by yourself, you practice your style and see where you rank amongst other individual DJs. But then Mike, Apollo, and Q came in as a team, and it was just like, word, like you could think like a band on multiple turntables, not just two, but like three, four turntables, and come together like one, like six hands all moving in sync with each other. That blew our minds. And so, as frustrated as I was that the year that I was retiring, they allowed teams into the
Teams.
DMC. I also am thankful that DMC did that, because it opened up a new approach to DJing. And one of the benchmark moments in the Executioners was performing in the 1999 World DMC battle here in New York City and killing it as a team. And the inspiration for that was what Qbert, Mike, and Apollo did. You know what I mean? So overall, I don't regret that happening, because it helped push the craft, the art of DJing forward. We needed to see three guys come together as one, because up until then, that was something that was foreign to us, you know? Maybe
Word.
not you guys in the Bay or in LA, because they were on the West Coast. So you guys probably were around it and seeing it at shows, but we didn't know that you could do that as a DJ. The closest thing to that we had on the East Coast was we had these guys called the Disco Twins, and they were twins, twin
Oh, the OG
brothers.
Disco Twins.
Yeah, the OG Disco Twins from East Elmhurst, Queens. And it was two brothers, and they would do shit together, but not like on the level of what Mike, Apollo, and Q were doing. They would do more shit like body trick oriented, like one guy would be back spinning, and then one of the brothers would jump on the guy that was back spinning's shoulders and then use his feet to move the records, and the brother would use the fader. So it was like a duo, and they were doing more of a body trick oriented style of turntable manipulation. But what Mike, Q, and Apollo were doing was more of a band. It was like one guy was the vocal, another guy was the horn, another guy was the drum. And it was like, yo, this is next level, man. And it changed DJing for the better, dude. So, as frustrated as I was that the DMC allowed it, I'm also thankful that they did, because if it wasn't for the Rocksteady DJs, there would be no Executioners as a team doing what we did in the 99 World DMC. We wouldn't have toured and killed shows the way we did as a team. The Odd Couple, me and Sinister, the way we go about our shit would not exist, because that's the blueprint. What Mike, Hubert, and Apollo did in the 92 DMC is American Finals is the blueprint for everything that you see with regards to teams. I don't care where you are in Europe, or whether you're Birdie Nam Nam or the Executioners, Beat Junkies, whatever crew you are, that's the template. That's the blueprint. You know what I mean? So
I agree.
yeah, man.
I agree.
Yo,
Well,
go ahead,
I got
go
this
ahead,
question. So, even when you bring up that, how did you, Rob, or at least how did people on the East Coast feel about? Because on the West Coast, a lot of cats use the phono line switch.
Mhm.
How did people take to that? in terms of scratching over it, or DJing in terms of the East Coast?
It was like it really depended on who you asked. You know what I mean? Like I had a mixer that had a line switch, and I would use it to transform. Um, but then there were DJs like Steve D who used the 2200, the
Right.
Gemini 2200, and
Mm.
that didn't have a line switch. The line was like a mic
Yeah,
switch,
right.
but the
Right.
faders on that mixer is all you had to manipulate the record and coax scratch sounds out of it. And
Right.
so DJs like Steve might have felt, I'm not saying Steve D himself, but people that use the 2200
Hmm.
might have felt, well, I don't have the line switch, so you're cheating because I got to use the fader. So it
Right.
really depended on who you asked. Me personally, I was okay with the line switch, but I also would say, in all fairness, that like the line switch did make your scratches sound crispier,
Hmm.
whereas the fader, the line switch was the equivalent of having like a curve switch on your fader. But the Gemini 2200, there was no curves on all mixers back then. So it's like if you were clean and accurate the way Jazzy Jeff and Cash Money was on the fader, and to be that clean and accurate, you had to use the line. Then people like me felt like, well, I don't know. I think it takes more skill to make a transformer sound nasty just using the fader than it
Mm.
does using the line, because the line is like having a curve. But it's not like I was one of those guys that like thought, well, Aladdin isn't as good as he is because he uses the line. Like that dude killed it on the line or on the crossfader. It didn't
Hmm.
matter, you know?
Right. It was interesting because like obviously that's the contrast of say West Coast and East Coast. I mean, uh, again speaking from an LA perspective, especially when seeing like Jeff and Cash Money using the 2200, a lot of us started. I'm sure the same thing too. Short, right? 'Cause
Yeah.
most of us. We were always using Newmark mixers, like from 1150, the 1150 mixer to the 1650 to was it the 1800 big what's the big one short I'm trying to remember the
The 11, not the 1150, but the 1775 or something.
yeah something 75 or 18 was
Oh,
it the 18,
the
the big
which one?
one the long one
The GLI.
not the GLI. There was a long, you had the three channels, but you had two with the EQ. Man, but it's one of the long Newmark mixers. You know what I'm talking about.
Okay.
So most of the time if you see old footage of Joe Cooley, even when he was DJing and when he was battling a seminar, he was using a Newmark mixer, and it was pretty long. And it was crazy is that he had it on regular, not Philly style, but regular old school style, right? With the tone arm just technically on the right and stuff instead of flipping it over and stuff. So I mean it was interesting that for us on the West Coast that most of us used the Newmark scratcher and maybe the GLI because we saw that on Malcolm McLaren's records. But when we started seeing Jazzy Jeff and Cash Money using the 2200, that was like, oh, that's
Yeah,
what.
like
Would you
yeah,
say that
that-
short like from Frisco to LA, right? Wouldn't you say?
Yeah, I mean, up here, like like when I see the battles, like when Q would battle or Mike would battle up here locally, they were using the 1150. You know what I'm saying? The Newmark 1150 was like the common, and I don't know if that's an LA influence, but
Right.
like for me, I learned off a Newmark mixer. My first mixer, for my mobile DJ crew was a 1975. You know what I'm saying? But just that's how I learned how to scratch was off the up and down switch. So.
Yeah.
Um,
No, I've always wanted to hear your perspective, Rob, in terms of what you thought about that. I know it was interesting because even short, in the Bay, they had a crew called No Clickers Allowed.
Oh yeah. There was a whole crew up here in the Bay that just didn't believe in line switches, but that's a whole nother.
That's
Oh,
hilarious.
there's a question. Snake Eyes in the chat room asked a great question. Can you ask Rob about the L mode style, where your turntable
yeah.
was one
Yeah,
one was turned, and then the other one was regular.
Traditional.
yeah,
Yeah.
yeah. That's a great question. So I remember seeing Plastic Man in the 1990 East Coast DMC on Video Music Box, the one that he won where Steve D placed second. And one of the excerpts that they showed of Plastic Man on Video Music Box, that episode, was him backspinning Rock the Bells and using the stop start buttons, which is a popular technique now, but DJs were doing it back in the late 80s. And I remember thinking, yo, that's dope. And so when I finally bought my pair of Technique 1200s, like in 1991, to train for the DMC, I, as we were saying earlier, you see something and then you first copy it and then you try to figure out a way to help it, whatever the technique is, help it come off better, help it progress, help it come off different, because you don't want to just be a carbon copy of what you see. So, Dr. Butcher and I were playing with the stop start button technique that we saw Plastic Man apply in the 1990 East Coast DMC. And so what we did though was, so if you cut what we call Philly style, right, which is the tone arm is up top, right? So, or you guys called it battle mode, right? So if you put your turntables, both turntables, so that the tone arm is up top, what happens is the left start stop button is
Is on
going to
the
be close to the mixer,
right.
and then the right stop button on the right turntable is far from the mixer because of the configuration of the turntable, the Technique 1200 to be specific. So I remember looking at that setup and thinking, all right, that's the way Plastic Man did it. But I was like, I need to figure out a way to get the stop start button closer to the mixer because there are other things that I want to do, but that stop start button on the right turntable is farther from the mixer. And for me to accomplish what I'm envisioning in my mind, I think I'm going to need to like reconfigure the turntable. And that's where that L shape came from. So I moved the right turntable, or should I say, configured it so that it was placed the way the old school style of DJing in the 70s and early 80s was, which is the tone arm is on the right and you pick up the needle from the right side and then move it to the vinyl, and then the if it's a 1200, the the start stop button is on the bottom left corner, and that's where the L shape style configuration came from. Um,
Yo,
So you're
so
saying so you're saying Plastic Man was kind of like the guy that kind of
yes, I would credit him for inspiring me because
wow.
I wanted to figure out a way to do that stop start button technique that he was doing on Rock the Bells, but I didn't like having the stop start button so far away from the turntables on the right side. So I took the right turntable and moved it so that it was configured old school style, which is the tone arm is on the right side and
Right.
the pitch is on the right as well.
Right.
But in doing so, it put the stop start button right next to the mixer. So then I
Right.
had both start stop buttons
It makes
next
sense.
to the mixer.
So
And so real quick, I'll end with this. If you guys, Snake Eyes asked that question, I encourage him to go to my YouTube page and watch the 1992 DMC that I won. And you'll see that I finally came up with the trick that I was fucking in my head trying to figure out because of the stop start buttons being close to the mixer. You'll see
the
the
James
back
Brown.
right, exactly, where like I turn around stop the right turntable with my back, stop the start,
I get it.
stop button on the right turntable, and then I move my back and hit the fader, and then you hear play it on the left turntable.
Mm-hmm.
So that can't happen if the stop
Yeah, if it's
start
over
button
here.
is on the right
Right.
side.
Yeah,
Right.
that's right.
I needed it so
Oh.
then DJs would see me cut that way and would position the turntables in that L shape, not even knowing that it was because I wanted to do that specific trick. Otherwise, if you see me, I cut Philly style, but I had to place to do that trick. I needed the turntable that way. So
So-
to the normal DJ would be like, oh well, Rob Swift does his routines that way, and his juggles sound dope. So I'm gonna configure my turntables that way, and hopefully my juggles will sound dope. But it wasn't for juggling; it was to do a specific trick.
So, question then: did you have a specific, like, if you had two copies of the same record, did you have one record specifically for one side? Like, you know what I mean? Like,
I was going to ask you
Your
that. But the
markings.
your markers.
Yeah, no.
How
What
did-
I would do, it sucked. It sucked. It was really annoying. What would happen is, being that like I had that one trick where I needed the stop start button next to the mixer. What I would do is I would you know how some people mark their records to 12 o'clock or to the needle.
right?
You can't you got to use the clock theory, not the needle concept, because
Oh,
the needle
shit.
the needle is on it's facing a different position on the right turntable than it is on the left turntable. So what would happen is I would use the clock theory, both of them at 12
Both
or
the sides.
1 or 2. But then what would happen is, if I was practicing with Raider, he cut Philly style. So if you go to my YouTube page and search like X-Men battles, like we would battle at each other's houses, and there's footage, you'll see me whenever I go to the turntable, I gotta move the right turntable from Philly style to regular traditional style, because of the way I marked everything, so that if I wanted to do that trick on the spot, the marks were exactly the way I had them or was accustomed to seeing. And then eventually I stopped doing that back trick. I stopped doing it. I got older and less flexible. I'm bigger now. I got muscles, so I'm not as flexible. That trick takes a lot of flexibility, and you got to be very pliable. Your body has to be like a rubber band to make that trick work. And so the older I got, the bigger I got. I was like, I'm not gonna do that trick anymore. So you'll never see me do that trick at a showcase now, because it's just too annoying, moving the turntable and all that stuff.
So let me ask you this. So how did you mark your records? Like, you were saying 12 o'clock or needle. Now, like, I mean, how did like Raider get his markers? So, like, in terms of you,
Where's the one start basically for you?
Did you
12
do
o'clock or needle?
or needle?
12 or like 1 o'clock. I liked 1 o'clock.
1 o'clock.
Or 12. Yeah, like 1 o'clock for some reason. Like, I think the Bismarck, the first that first one, it might be marked to like 1 o'clock.
Interesting.
Oh shit!
How did Raider mark his records?
Raider liked marking his records to the needle. Every record,
Oh shit!
every routine, everything starts
At
to the needle. Yeah.
I say that because because the guys make fun of me. It's like because I would do that the needle, and my theory of that, because if you had a Philly style, if you had a traditional, it's always going to land on the needle. That's
that's
just
smart.
me.
Okay.
Yeah,
That's
smart.
why I would.
I need to like, I memorize it as a clock. So if no matter where if the turntables, both of them are configured traditional normal style,
Right.
if both of them are Philly style, if one is traditional and the other's Philly, like the L shape that I used to do, I need to know both my marks are going to be at 12 or 1, or that's the way.
That's what's interesting. I mean, because it's still even though it's the needle, it's still a clock theory, because you're still reading it like.
Yeah.
But I mean, preference wise, I know Short does it 12 o'clock. So does Babs and Mello. I was the only one that did it with at the needle. And shit.
Red, if I'm not mistaken, you had your turntables in an L shape
At
too
one
when we
point,
first met, huh?
but I still did it also by the needle, even though one was like
That's crazy.
battle way and one
Wow.
was traditionally. I still
That's
read it by
crazy.
the needle.
So Rhett, your ones were
That's
always
crazy.
at the needle, even if it was
Yes.
an L shape.
Yes,
That's insane.
I don't know, yo, my
I don't know how
coordination
you
is
did
not
that.
that good.
because you know
yeah.
why? Because you always know it's going. When you hit the needle, you know it's going to be there. Of course,
Oh,
it's
man.
even though it's a little bit extra per se, it
Yeah,
makes
yeah.
sense and stuff. But I always know that whatever position, whether it's L, Philly style or traditional, it's always going to
That's at the
land
needle.
the needle, no matter what.
crazy.
You can't. I mean, sure, it might be different and stuff, but you always know it's going to land there. If it was always 12 o'clock, that would fuck everything up and shit like that. So, but that's interesting.
crazy.
That's interesting how you say that with the L, Rob. That like, damn, that's crazy.
It was a trick. It was a trick
was a
that
trick.
I did with a song called Fusion Beats, James Brown. Give it up, not give it up, turn it loose. It was wait, yeah, right, exactly. So get up, get involved, some shit like that.
Yeah,
The-
get up,
the-
get
the-
involved.
Yeah. But it was because I had a trick with that specific song, and like when you're showcasing, you don't necessarily know when you're gonna pull out a trick. So I would just leave it L style and deal with it, But then after a while, again, I got bigger. I got tired of having to be the only DJ that needed to turn the turntable.
Well, you and Joey were like that, right? You and Sinister
Oh,
were doing the same.
Joey was that way because Joey came up under me. So Joey was like studying
Makes
everything
sense.
that I was doing and then just
okay.
doing it. You know what I mean? So
Makes
for
sense.
a while, Joey was cutting L style, not because he had a trick, but it was because I was cutting L style. And then up until this is actually very interesting. Up until 2018, Joey was cutting L style. And then we started doing the odd couple. And I was like, dude, you can't cut L style no more, man, because like we have but so much room. We're using
that's
4
right.
turntables.
Right.
And plus
when you
laptop.
move- and plus laptop. And when you move the turntable to the traditional normal way, it now the width is like it's taking up more space width wise. And I'm like, I remember telling them like, dude, you're gonna have to learn all your routines with both the turntables, vertical or battle mode or Philly style. And I remember he fought me on it for like a day or two. And I was like, dude, you're gonna have to figure your shit out. And I was like, but he was like, oh no, I don't want to. And I was like, Joey, you're using Serato now. You're not using vinyl.
Yeah.
So it's
yeah.
like you could put the Serato mark wherever you want.
Whatever
It
you
doesn't
want.
matter.
Yeah.
Right. It
It's not
doesn't matter.
it's not like a
Right.
regular sticker anymore.
Right.
Exactly. So up until 2018, if you watch footage of Sin like at a DMC or anywhere, his shit is L style. And now he cuts Philly because I forced him to cut Philly.
Oh man.
Yep.
Wow, that's crazy.
Yo, that's nuts, man. Yo, man, chat room, can you guys give some lighters up in the room real quick for our brother Rob Swift? Because this is a great conversation. Rob. Before we're doing this, me and Rhett were just coming up with so many questions. Like, what are we gonna ask Rob? Like, what's all the questions we always wanted to ask Rob? But we covered a lot of it, man. And thank you so much for giving us like the back end stories about how stuff went down.
Man.
Coming up, because like I said, man, you like I said, I always say that the X-Men is definitely a big influence. Period on just beat juggling alone. I mean, if you're like I said, if you're a beat juggling DJ, you cannot say the X-Men's. Can't. You have to include that.
The DNA of beat juggling is all because of the X-Men. That's straight
Absolutely.
up. You'll hear that from, like Short says it, I say it, Bab says it, Mello says it. Like you guys, obviously from Steve D down to you, down to Sinister, down to Raider. Like you pretty much guys were just like foundational. I mean, man, I also like I remember I always make fun of Sean C when I see him and stuff. Like when I saw him on the seminar battle and he was doing his I Know You Got Soul routine and shit like that, I always joke him like, yo man, you need to bring back your Expo baseball hat. Because I remember him wearing I was like,
Montreal, yep.
yeah, this Montreal Expo hat. So
Yeah, they got it like to the back too, like
yeah.
got it like this.
And,
Yo,
and it,
I'm not gonna even get into the how many patterns that we don't get to really talk about. That
Hmm.
like remember Rob, me and you were talking about this. Sean C was doing a bunch. There's a battle. I don't know whose house it was, but it was Sean C versus Raider.
I remember I saw that. Yep.
And there's a pattern that I've never seen anyone ever do, like but him.
Yeah.
But it's
I mean,
one of the illest
yo,
fucking patterns ever, man. Like,
listen, dude. There are patterns that all of us experimented with that we kept up under our sleeve, so to speak, and kept secret because we wanted to have something to pull out. That's what we would call it. We would call it pulling out, right? To pull out in case someone challenged us. And that's how serious we were about competitions. And people like you, Short, people like Hubert were privy to a lot of our private secret battles that we would have at Raider's house, at my house, because we respected and admired you guys so much. And you guys were sending us video of you guys practicing. So we were like, yo, man, let's reciprocate and send them our practice videos as well. So you guys, people watching this, man, like Short, Q specifically, I remember Short, you and I used to have conversations like, yo, Rob, I'm gonna send you this video. Yo, look for it. It should reach you in a week. And I'd wait at home, and then the video would come, and you write me a little letter of what was on the video and all that, and then I would send you a video. Again, before social media, before Instagram, before smartphones, where you could just text someone a video, you talk on the phone, tell the person you're going to put together a tape, and then you'd literally sit there for hours and dub all these different pieces of history and practice videos for this guy that you talk to, that you've befriended, that lives on the completely other side of the country. And then you put the tape together, go to the post office, mail them the video. The guy gets it, sits there, studies this video, gets better. Like, that's the kind of shit that we used to do for each other. And you guys saw a lot of our secret practices, dude. And I upload a lot of them now to my YouTube page. But I have videos, dude, that I still haven't uploaded. Yo, remember the warehouse video when we all practiced at the warehouse? Yo, I have that video. I still have it, but I will never upload it. I will never upload it. You know why? Because like that that will only be for the three crews, the Junkies, the X-Men, and the Pickles, and the other periphery DJs like 8 Ball, and anyone else that might have been lucky enough to be in that warehouse. But like, I will never share that. So there's certain videos, there's certain techniques that I've done that, like, to this day I still keep secret, just in case. You know what I'm saying? Because like, I'm still that dude.
That meeting of the crews.
Let's
at
talk,
that warehouse.
Let's
talk about that real quick.
Like, because it was if you really think of it, because so Sinister was in it, Babs was in it, Melody was in it, Swamp, who ironically
Swamp wasn't there.
No, he wasn't there.
No. I'm talking about the battle. The battle, right?
Right,
the
that's
battle.
right.
It was like, but I mean, that was like the craziest battle. But this was like the night before the battle.
Right.
Right. So,
Actually.
yeah. Let's asking you, what was your train of thought, or what was your feelings in terms when the first time, like, all three crews were at the warehouse? Was it second to none? It was second to none, right?
Yeah, it was the Yoga Frogs DJ group, his mobile group. They had a warehouse, and we had a session there. Just everyone hooked up. We all hooked up, but
we knew. I was gonna say, we knew that was a historical moment. You know, if smartphones existed back then, dude, like, everyone would have seen the shit that we were doing on those turntables. I think we had like 5 turntables set up, I want to say. Like, I think there were like 2 pairs, and then there might have been 1 turntable with a mixer. But I knew that was a historic moment in DJing that only we were privy to. And how often do you get to spend time with all of the pillars, all of the pioneers of that era of DJing? That shit like that wasn't happening until like the later part of the decade when we started all touring together. Then like, we would all like chill together a lot and like practice together a lot and all that shit. But like in the mid 90s when that shit took place, when that shit went down, that was the first time that like the three main crews were in one place sharing each other's secrets. Like,
Yeah.
I remember that was the first time that I saw like the echo scratching. I don't know if you guys had a name for it, but like I remember Qbert was doing that shit. And in the video, you see me like, oh, like, yo, I'm literally like, what is Qbert doing? And I remember Sinister was doing his fucking crazy juggles. Yeah, dude, like that shit was history. But I'll never, ever, ever. You couldn't pay me enough money to upload the video to YouTube because it's so personal.
Yeah.
Yes, it was, man. Yo, big up Mello in the room. He just put
Yeah,
up,
what's up, Mello?
he said warehouse session was a power summit.
Yeah, it was. Yo, there's video that I did upload of me and Mello talking outside of the warehouse. And like you see, like Mello's there, like just I think he's like smoking a cigarette or about to light up a cigarette. And I'm talking to him and I'm like, yo, Mello, man, like, are you gonna do the battle tomorrow? He's like, I'm not sure. I want to. I'm not sure. And I'm like, dude, you got to. Like, you got to do it. Like, I'm literally in his ear, like, yo, you got to battle tomorrow.
I'll tell you a story about that, and Mello can attest to this. Mello actually, you're right. Mello was contemplating about entering the battle. He literally flew in because he was still going to school. So
that's right.
So he flew in to do the battle, and he had to fly out. And
that's
Mello,
crazy.
Did you have to take a test, right? Correct me if I'm wrong. I remember because Mello was like he was in the verge of graduating from UC Irvine and shit like that. He was like the only one that was going to only got a bachelor's degree from all of us.
Good for him.
Yeah. So but
I remember I was like trying to talk him into doing it because I wanted to see him compete, even though we were there because Sinister was battling. So obviously we wanted Sinister to win, but there was such camaraderie amongst the three crews. There was no hate, man. There was no hate. We all like had love for each other. We all respected each other's style and technique and creativity and talent. So as much as Raider and I were there to like help inspire Sin to win, I wanted to see Mello battle as well. And so I remember this video that I uploaded. It's on it might be on my Instagram page, like where you see me and Mello there, and I'm telling them, like, dude, you gotta battle. You gotta battle. Someone, I don't know who was fucking filming it. It might have been John Carluccio from Battle Sound.
He was there too.
But thank God, dude. Thank God for him, because all of those moments, again, we didn't have smartphones back then. So a lot of those moments we have now documented. You know what I mean? Like they happened, and I have the proof in my closet, dude. I have I have stacks of videos, dude. From when we would go to Q's house and practice, and like you and Mike would be there short, and we'd be fucking around, joking on each other and shit like that. I have fucking footage of us like just hanging out some fucking grocery store with disc fucking like joking on every one of us and shit like that. Yeah, dude, great memories. And unfortunately, like Raiders no longer here physically, man, with us. But thank God we have those videos documented, man, because there were moments that you can't get back, man, and you can't recreate, like special moments. And I'm just glad that like I have a lot of that footage.
Oh, digitize that shit already, bro.
Word. Yeah, right. Digitize it, but I'll never post that warehouse.
Oh yeah, exactly. Yeah, don't post it, but digitize it for sure. Yo, man, we could go on forever about because we haven't talked. There's a lot of stuff we haven't even talked about.
We'll do another one, man.
Yeah,
Totally.
we should definitely do this again because, like I said, prior to just our talks, we were talking about showing videos. Normally with table talk, we show videos and we talk
Mhm.
about them and we watch them live. But this conversation already is just priceless, man. So,
Right on.
Rob,
No,
if you could do it, definitely do it with us again. That would be great.
Oh yeah, for sure, man.
yeah,
Word up.
you definitely answered a lot of questions that us
Yeah.
as fans always wanted to know and shit
Yeah,
like
as
that.
definitely
So
as an X-Men fan, I've learned so much about just learning about the origins and just the,
yeah,
of course, what I mean, like, you always, as someone who's influenced you, you always want to see, know what the origins are and where it comes from and how it came about. So thank you for answering a lot of our questions
Yes, sir.
regarding the crew, man. One thing I wanted to ask you, I mean, as just I guess as a parting question, and this is something that me and Rhett were talking about. Just being that the X-Men executioners are just such a pivotal, influential, force as far as like, just beat juggling in general. What do you think about the new generation? And do you feel like there's something missing? Is there something that you wish you saw a little more of,
Excuse me.
or are you
Hmm.
cool with it? Yeah,
Um, I think that they're lucky to have access to the technology that they do, but at the same time, I feel like the technology that they have access to is making a lot of the techniques that we innovated easier to do. And so, because of that, there isn't as much innovation taking place in 2022 as
Hmm.
compared to 1992. Um,
Wow,
so,
30.
on one level, the level of accuracy that you see now in DMC entries from DJs like JFB, for example, or Rena from Japan, the level of accuracy is just like, wow.
Yeah.
But then at the same time, when you think of the level of accuracy that myself had, or you Shortkut, or you Rhettmatic had on vinyl, and not a DMC entry from your bedroom, but a DMC entry on stage, not on your turntables, not using your mixer, in real time in front of a real audience, and you think of the accuracy level there. You
Hmm.
know what I mean? Like I just feel, and it's not to diss the modern DJ. Like I think what these guys are doing is crazy. JFB is one of the guys that like I see now and I'm like, yo, this guy is so fast and so accurate and like he's like a machine on turntables, you know? But I just want to say that don't neglect the idea that sometimes having limitations can push you forward. You
Hmm.
know, in a weird way, like I feel like us coming up on vinyl using records is directly the reason why there was so much innovation back then. Because, like, yo, think of the bridge nobody beats the no, not the bridge nobody beats the biz, the bridge Public Enemy routine, the wah, wah, wah,
Right.
with the beat and all that, right? The record that I was using was the single for Public Enemy number one. It was Public Enemy's first single, and they sampled a song called Blow Your Head. And on that song, if you listen to it, there's this buzz. I don't know what else to call it. This noise that like it goes wah, and then the beat comes in. And I knew I wanted to use that wah to make that melody, but it only lasted for like three
Couple
seconds,
seconds.
and
Yeah.
then the beat would come in. So I remember like sitting there in front of my turntables, like, yo, damn, I wish this shit would loop, man. Like, fuck, damn. And then I was like, how can I make it loop? Oh shit, maybe I could use a piece of tape. And I got a piece of tape from like one of the VHS tapes,
Hmm.
cut it, placed it on the record strategically so that the needle would hit the tape and then bounce back far enough so that you wouldn't hear the wow, 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 like the other part of the buzz, and you would only hear wah, 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 and it would keep looping. And then, like, so when you would hear it without the drums, the bridge drums, you would hear literally, if you go to my YouTube page, do a search for like 1992 DMC, uh, American Finals, you hear like wah, wah, wah. But when I add the drums sort of mask that skip noise because like because of the kicks and the snares. That's ingenuity. That's
I was about to say. I was about to say that's where the ingenuity comes in, as far as like making something out of nothing.
Nothing.
Basically.
Literally nothing. You know, and now because of Serato, what do? You just hit loop. That's it. You hit loop. So it's like the technology is great, but the thing about it is that like it also sort of trying to figure out like tactful ways of saying this, because I don't want to come off like I'm hating on the modern DJs or hating on technology, because I'm not. But what I am saying is that the point of this whole turntablism battle DJing shit is defying the odds, is performing magic on turntables. And so when you're using equipment that was designed for you to cue up fast, hit the button, boom, the sound's there, or put it on relative mode so that so even if the needle skips, it doesn't sound like it's skipped.
Or recovery, like or recovery from a skip.
Right, stuff like that. Exactly, stuff like that makes it easier to do what Short, Rhettmatic, myself did, left to our own devices, our fucking hands. That's our fucking hands. That's it. That's it. That's it, dude. That's it. So when you think about that, yeah, to answer your question, what the modern DJs are doing is amazing, but the gear is also designed for them to do amazing shit. What we did in our time was fucking amazing because the gear was not designed for us to do what we did back in the 80s and early 90s before the laptop era. So that's the best way I could answer that question and be truthful, you know?
Yeah, man. Makes so much sense, man.
Yeah, definitely. Man.
Words from the OG, y'all.
Yep.
I mean, we're all pretty much OGs in here in this room now already. So, man, Rob, thank you so much for doing this with us, brother. I mean,
right on, man.
I can't thank you enough. And thank you for all the years of of your influence, and just like I said, man, it's as a West Coast beat juggler, we always looked to you guys as far as what's the next shit. You know what I'm saying?
Right
So
on, man.
Thank you so much for that, brother. I really appreciate it.
And then,
yo, man, love you, Short. Love you,
Love
Rhett.
you too, brother.
Yeah, man, I'm glad we got to sit down. And next time you want to do this again, I'll be ready to go, bro.
Word up.
Sounds man.
Sounds good, man. Chat room, Chat Mafia fam, can you please put some lighters up one time for my brother, the legendary, the Brolic Arm.
Brolic
Swift
Arm.
Yeah. Shout out to the whole chat room. Yo, man, like I said, this is it's 2.5 hours past already, y'all.
Was it?
It doesn't seem like it, but I'm looking at the time now. I'm like, damn, 2.5 hours. We could have been here for a hot minute. I mean, there's so many different things that we didn't get to talk about, but we'll save that for another time, which is perfect for another discussion. We definitely got to do this again. Rob, thank you so much, bro.
Rob.
Appreciate your time. Thank you for taking the time to hang out with us.
Yeah.
Brother Rhett, thank you so much.
Man. Hey, love you guys. Thank you.
Love y'all, man. And chat room, Chat Mafia, thank you guys so much for coming through. Once again, this has been Table Talk with the one and only, the legendary Rob Swift.
Rob
Swift of the X-Men. Okay, no, X-ecutioners. I know, X-ecutioners. Yo, I mean,
that's a question. Yeah, we were going to. It was good. We should have.
Are we going to open that can of worms?
Yeah, you might as well. You might as well.
Okay, real quick, because me and Rhett wanted to ask you this too. What was it like for the transition of X-Men, because you guys got signed eventually, and with the whole copyright thing? What was that like? I mean, in a nutshell, for you guys having to change it to the Executioners.
And then how did the other guy? How did the other guys feel about that too, as well?
Well, you know what's cool about that story is that originally we wanted to form a super group that featured members of the Pickles, members of the Beat Junkies, members of the Enforcers out in London, Cutmaster Swift, Pogo, Business, and members of the X-Men. And we were messing around with different names. X Factor was one of the names. Executioners was one of the names. And for whatever reason, tour schedules, guys were busy recording, doing stuff. We never formed this super group. And so when we released Expressions, or before actually we released Expressions, when we released our first single off Expressions, which was a song called Música Negra, Black Music, and on the B-side, it was a song that I produced for Mrs. Sinister. I forgot the name of the song.
Wordplay.
Wordplay, yes. Wordplay, yeah. And so when we released that single, we were calling ourselves the X-Men. If you look at the single, it says X-Men.
Mm-hmm. I remember.
And then we released it, and our label just panicked. They panicked. I don't know if someone got in their ear from Marvel or whatever the case, but they panicked and they were like, "Yo, we got to change the name before you drop the album." And we didn't want to change the name. We were super attached to the moniker X-Men because that's who we were from the late 80s, I should say. But then we caved. We were like, we're gonna have to change the name, basically. Like they're forcing us. So Executioners, which was one of the names that we were toying around with naming this super group, was actually to a name that I came up with. I remember me and Babs was one of the members of the Junkies that was going to be in this super group. And he and I were like coming up with like names. And you know what? One of Babs's mixtapes, I think might have even had, it said X Factor.
Yeah.
He was shouting like the new name of this super group that never really, took off. But I think, I came up with the name Executioners. We never used it. And then I went to the guys and I was like, yo, let's just change it to Executioners. And the guys were like, yeah, that sounds dope. And that's how that whole thing came about. And I mean, it is what it is, dude. Like, Marvel, X-Men dudes did not want to get sued.
Yeah, I mean, obviously, right? Like,
yeah, we changed the name.
Well, how did say like someone like say Sean C and Steve D, like the other guys from the X-Men, how did they feel about that?
Well, honestly, dude, Steve was like doing his own thing. He wasn't really touring with us or performing with us at shows. He was touring with Guy and Blackstreet, Teddy Riley and shit, working with Michael Jackson in the studio. Yeah. Sean was channeling all his energy into producing. And so, everything was pretty much in the control of myself, Raider, Sinister, and Total Eclipse by 1996. We were the face of that whole X-Men movement. So it was really our decision and no one pushed back on it. It's not like there was like any conflict or arguing over that.
Gotcha. Okay. That I've always wanted to know because, I mean, would you say you guys are the second, I wouldn't say the second wave, but, like the next wave or the next chapter of the X-Men history?
I think chapter is a good way to put it because up until 97, we were just battle DJs. And then we started touring with rappers, which was a chapter in it of itself. And then by 97, we started becoming recording artists and releasing music. And that just set off like a whole other level of like notoriety for us, and it grew our fan base. So it was definitely a new chapter. You can't grow stale, dude, in this art. You got to reinvent yourself whenever you can. So whether it's the way you look, I don't look the same way I did when I met Shortkut in
No,
1993.
you're
Um,
brawling.
yeah, exactly. Or the way you project your style, your creativity to fans of music, to fans of what you do. You always got to reinvent yourself. So Executioners was just, another chapter, as you
The next
say.
chapter, yeah, no
Yeah.
doubt,
No, that's what's
definitely.
up. Well,
Right on, man.
yep.
And
Thanks
and,
for
and, and
thanks for answering the question, Rob. I've always wanted to know.
like I said, man, we got tons of questions we could be asking. We'll definitely save this for another show. Once again, bro, Rob, thank you so much for joining us for this, and I really appreciate your time. And shout out to the whole chat room, man. Thank you for if we got some ladders up for my man Rob Swift. If you got those clap your hand emotes, all that stuff, we're giving our man Rob Swift his flowers real quick. Rob, if there's anything you want to let him know, what's up next for you, how to contact you, or if I know you have
hit me
your
up. Hit me
IG.
up on Instagram. At Brolic Arm. Also, for all the DJs out there, I'm gonna be launching the 6th annual Brolic Army Battle for Supremacy. It's a battle that I have featuring students of mine, students of the Brolic Army DJ School, and I have them battle each other similar to the way the X-Men used to battle each other in those
Dope.
secret VHS tapes that I used to send Shortkut and Qbert. I decided to do that for my students because a lot of people are scattered now in the world, man, and like we're not socializing in person as much as we used to back then. And so I wanted to create a platform for my students to compete, grow, inspire each other, as they say, iron sharpens iron. And so I'm doing this battle, and it's going to kick off Monday, October 31st, Halloween night around 8 p.m. I'm going to start posting the videos from all the students competing. And so please follow that competition, man. It's fun. And even if you're an established DJ, it's always good to expose yourself to what other DJs are doing. Whether you think they're not as good as you or better than you, everyone has their unique take, and that's something that I really promote with my students is like learn the techniques, learn the chase pattern, learn the swing pattern, but once you figure it out, articulate it in a way that's personal to you. And that's something that like you're going to see a lot of in this battle. So yeah, man, really that's all. Follow the battle, Brolic Army. You could follow it on my YouTube page or the at Brolic Army Instagram page. And yeah, man, again, thanks for having me, and we'll do this again at some point in the future.
No doubt. Right on, Rob. Thank you so much.
Yep.
Rhett, thank you so much. Chat room, Chat Mafia, thank you guys so much. Like I said, this has been Table Talk. Look out for it. Just a programming note to all the Chat Mafia crew in the room. I will be going on at 8 o'clock tonight, so look out for the notifications. We don't know what we're doing yet, but we're going to do it. All right?
Damn, short.
Yeah. You know how we do, bro. Got to keep it moving.
Too much.
Shout out to the room. Shout out to the lurkers in the room. Bastard, I see you. Mello, our brother Mello D in the room. Blind was in the room too.
Was he?
Man.
Oh shit.
Yeah, he was in here. Yeah, so shout out to everybody checking it out today and tonight. So once again, good morning, good afternoon, good evening to everybody watching around the world, watching this edition of Table Talk with Rob Swift, y'all. We'll be back, and give us a follow. Follow all our socials, and just so when you see what the next haps is happening, you know what I'm saying. So, Rob, thank you so much, brother. Take care.
Yeah. Salute, Rob.
Salute, Rob. Right on.
Right.
All right, y'all. Take care, y'all. We'll see ya. Peace, peace, peace.